Power bill through the roof? At 320 Solar, that power bill will be no more. In fact, about 90% of our customers report lower solar payments than with electricity. That's more power in your pocket. 320 Solar. Power up. Going solar with 320 may cost you nothing down. But the work we do is not a $0 job. With a 10-year roof penetration warranty and solar panels guaranteed for 25 years, you can have peace of mind knowing we will do the job right every time without question. 320 Solar. Power up.
Come to Sam Ash for hundreds of exclusive holiday deals on music and sound gear from the most iconic brands. Save big on professional and starter guitars, drums, digital pianos, horns, violins, DJ, and electronic production equipment. Supercharge your home studio with deals on podcasting, streaming, and AV equipment like speakers, microphones, headphones, and acoustic treatment. Plus, with 36 months no-interest financing on thousands of items, you can get the gear of your dreams right now. From our incredible selection and service to our lowest price guarantee for over 95 years, real musicians know you only go to Sam Ash.
I like Rojo. I like the victim of volume, a VOV day for him. I also think they incorporate Fournette into this game. 31-17 Tampa Bay. You're now in the Sports Web, a sports talk show for the hardcore fan. Bring your passion, bring your excitement, just don't bring any nonsense. Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another edition of the evolution of Sports Talk Television on Victory Monday after that Bucs win over the Carolina Panthers 31-17. So we definitely have a lot of things to talk about tonight. On tonight's show, we will have the Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend, 40 years of sports broadcasting experience, WTSP Channel 10, WFTS Channel 28, Mr. Al Keck on with us at 9 o'clock, talking all things Bucs around the NFL. Lots of injuries. I got a question out there, some controversy with Brett Favre and Ryan Jensen, which we can get into. We'll update the hockey score right now, which your Tampa Bay Lightning are doing well, 3-0 in the second period. So we'll keep you abreast of that situation. We'll have Leo Haggerty at 10 o'clock, the legend himself, former Coach Scout and now media member of Night Sports Productions. We'll have Mr. Rick Hughes at 10:30, and we will have Jacob Charnow of the Hard Count Football Podcast. And, of course, your phone calls as always. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Powered by 320solar.com. Save money on your electric bill. Don't pay that much money on your electric bill. Go to the website, and you don't have to pay on your electric bill until 2021. Again, that's 320solar.com, and tell them the Sports Web and Peter Blake sent you. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get out to them. It's Victory Monday. There's a lot of things to talk about, and I want to talk to you webheads tonight. Of course, as we always start off the Sports Web, before we get out to our guests, here we go. Bring your passion, bring your excitement, just don't bring any nonsense. So without further ado, Mr. Al Keck, who, by the way, debuted the Al Keck Show on the radio side of things, my friend. 102.5 The Bone, congratulations. And from here on out, every Saturday morning, it's going to be on 102.5 The Bone at 10 a.m. Congratulations.
Every Sunday morning. Every Sunday morning.
Every Sunday. Did I say Saturday? Sunday.
Yeah.
Sunday morning.
That's
yes.
okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. Maybe I'll do Saturday too.
Why not?
Week one went so well. They may want me to do Saturday as well.
All right. Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, I tell you right now, it went very well for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is how it's supposed to be. Even though Tom Brady had an interception, he threw for over 200 yards. The defense did a good job with causing 4 sacks and also creating 4 turnovers. And then on top of that, you get the run to close out the game to basically seal the deal. And the Bucs go on to beat the Carolina Panthers to put them to 0-2. The Atlanta Falcons, they blow the lead yesterday, just like I thought they would, because that defense is god-awful against the Dallas Cowboys. Tonight we're watching the Saints game, but right now, Bucs are 1-1, pick up their first victory at Raymond James Stadium. Your thoughts?
It was a win, and it was not anything pretty. It was very deceptive because the Bucs were up 21-0, and even when they were up 21-14, there in the second half, you still had a feeling, even though Carolina was coming back, that the Bucs were very much in control. That's basically because they took that 21-0 lead and they allowed their defense to just kind of stretch things out. And Carolina had the football. In fact, they won time of possession. 34-32 to 25-28. Now, that's very rare in a 31-17 win. So the Buccaneers scored early, they hung on, and then when they had to score at the end, they did exactly that. It will not go down as one of the. They will not take the game ball to Canton. It was a victory, and believe me, if there was ever a team and a quarterback that needed a victory right now, it was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tom Brady.
Yeah, definitely Tom Brady. With all that being said, I mean, throwing the interception, a lot of people were kind of focused on that, but I thought he was accurate, especially without a Chris Godwin. Mike Evans went off, and he had to after the disappointing week he got against the Saints, and whether it was an injury or it was Lattimore. He goes for over 100 receiving yards, a 23-yard touchdown. So he looked like he was definitely in sync, and they kind of set the tone with the first pass, one pass, 50 yards with all that yak. To me, that offense never looked back after that, although the defense did allow them to get back into the game. Give credit to where credit is due, because at halftime, the Bucs had a 21-0 lead, and then all of a sudden the Panthers got back into the game, whether it was a turnover by Ronald Jones and then the interception, which we spoke of about Brady. It's 21-14, but once again, Bucs get a field goal, which was nice. That's a gimme. And then after that, they close out the game with Fournette and that 46-yard run. Let me ask you about Fournette, because Coach Arians said today that he's not most likely going to make that switch. He's going to continue to go with Ronald Jones, that Fournette doesn't know enough of the playbook yet. Are you surprised by that? And do you think eventually Fournette will take over the duties as the starting running back?
Well, I do think that Fournette will take over the duties. And I think a lot of that is because you saw what happened in that third quarter with the fumble by Ronald Jones. Again, we've talked about this before. It's always something with Ronald Jones. Ronald Jones has an opportunity to take this job and run away with it. Couldn't do it last year. Couldn't do it in training camp this year. So the Bucs go out and they get Leonard Fournette just for insurance. I think it's pretty obvious that Leonard Fournette gives them something that they don't have with Ronald Jones, and that's dependability. You know, Fournette can have his injury troubles, but, you know, Fournette has shown, at least early on here, he can make plays. And Ronald Jones continues to show that he's extremely inconsistent. He can make a big play here and then turn the ball over there, or miss a block here, or, just make some kind of mistake. And so I think the Buccaneers really knew they were going to have to do something about their run game. And I also, going into the game, they made it very clear that they were going to establish the run, which they did. And Leonard Fournette was a big part of that in the second half. I think you're going to see a real idea of how the Bucs plan to do this. Jump out early. They have got to get Mike Evans and Chris Godwin involved. They still have to get Gronk involved. And then late in the game, if they have a lead, they're just going to hand the ball off to Fournette and just let him carry the load. Ronald Jones, to me, I still at this point, late in the game, would not trust him because he's going to make some kind of mistake. And he has over and over and over again. And on the handoff from Brady, it was a tad high. But at the same time, I don't think, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think that Ronald Jones did a good job of leaving enough room there in order to take that handoff. So extremely frustrating. But they have Leonard Fournette, and Leonard Fournette has shown what he can do. And that's a reason why the Buccaneers signed him when he was out there after the waiver wire.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And anytime you get the opportunity to once again get that potential back, and he rushes for, over 1,000 yards, he's rushed for over 1,000 yards last year, had a good year with receiving. Yesterday, he gets over 100 yards of rushing. So, I mean, that's exactly what you want to do. And that's impressive, Al, seeing that this guy hasn't been here for maybe 2 weeks and already rushing for over 100 yards with a running back in Jones, who I've said a victim of volume, but if you're giving him the volume and he's putting the ball on the ground, eventually you feel like that's definitely going to come back to haunt him. And because not only Fournette can run with power and does have that vision, he can also catch out of the backfield. So I definitely think eventually it may go to Fournette and have Jones, but it's a good situation for the Bucs to have. So, guys, what do you think about the Bucs win yesterday? 727-255-0391 and 727-255-0391. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend, Mr. Al Keck, here on the Evolution, powered by 320solar.com. Again, going back to Brady statistics, 23 for 35, 217, one touchdown, the one interception we already spoke about. you almost feel like getting Godwin back, and that was the big story today. He's passed all the concussion protocols. They're going to get him back against the Denver Broncos, that this offense is only going to get better. I tell you what, go ahead and save that thought, because let's go out to the phone lines. Let's lead it off here with Matt Colson. Welcome to the Evolution. You're on with yours truly, along with the Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend, Mr. Alkek.
How y'all doing tonight, Peter?
Doing good, buddy. How you doing?
I'm in the middle of watching the Raiders over here, trying to come back on the Saints.
Okay.
That would be nice.
Well,
so far they're not doing so good.
Well, I heard it was 10-7 the last time I checked. So
yeah, it is.
Okay, so the Raiders are still in the game. They're not getting blown out by the Saints. I told you that the Bucs and the Saints by the end of the night will be tied for first place in the NFC South. I still stand by that.
Well, I hope so. I hope you're right. I was calling about two things.
Mhm.
One about the Fournette deal.
Okay.
I honestly think they should put Rojo on the shelf and just run Fournette until his wheels come off, because the guy's better. I mean, Rojo's had 3 years. Fournette's had 1,000 yards a couple of times in a team that was Swiss cheese.
Mhm.
So he knows how to play behind a bad line, and they seem to be better chemistry-wise when he's in the game. Doesn't matter if it's the first quarter or if it's into the fourth quarter. Whenever he's in the game, you get more production out of a play. And I can just see it with my novice eyes when I watch the game. Rojo just doesn't hit the spot. He doesn't hit he didn't do that handoff correctly at all. You were mentioning where Al was saying he didn't open up his arms to open the basket up. I don't know if that was really Rojo or if Brady was at fault. He looked like he was out of position to me too, like he was half a step away reaching for him.
Mhm.
But that happened on Rojo's watch. And it seems to happen, like Al said, every single time we have a game, he does something where you go, oh my God, he's just not ready.
Right.
And I don't see him hanging around too much longer.
Well, I don't necessarily think they're going to get rid of him, Al. I don't think they're going to get rid of Rojo. He still has value to this offense. You still have to have 2 to 3 good running backs on this team. To be a starter, you have to produce. And if you're not producing, then yes, you could definitely see Fournette replacing him. But I don't see Jones being traded or cut or something like that. He'll just be a backup running back, and that's a good problem to have, as we've talked about on this team. Right, Al?
Well, they've shown that they will do running back by committee, and I think we've seen that so far. But again, when it comes to crunch time, I think we're going to see more Fournette than we are Ronald Jones, because Ronald Jones still has that penchant for screwing up.
Mhm.
So making mistakes. And so until he gets that out of his system, there's nothing wrong with having, 2, 3 good running backs or running backs that you want to use and want to rely on. Let's not forget that the Buccaneers probably should have been up, 35-0, or
Yeah.
at least have 35 points in the first half, or I take it back, should have had 28 points. And then in the second half, they could have had more, because Scotty Miller dropped a touchdown pass that was right there. He should have caught. And then how about LaShawn McCoy? He dropped a touchdown pass. And one of those, I think they end up settling for a field goal. So, I mean, my point is this, it could have, the score was not a good indication of what really happened in the game. And again, the time of possession is extremely deceptive, because Carolina, outgained the Bucs by almost 100 yards. Carolina had, almost 10 minutes more in time of possession, but the Bucs are very much in control of the game. I just think the reason why Carolina got back in the game is that the Bucs defense was on the field for so long, and it was a hot, steamy day, and that the defense just got tired. And those couple times when the Bucs got the ball back, they couldn't put together any kind of a drive. Brady had the interception, but and they were just making other mistakes. And then, the fumble by Ronald Jones. And Ronald Jones just, I've made my feelings known. You can't depend on the guy. You just can't. And I think he's a talent. I think he shows times when he can really play in this league. But maybe his best role is to come in spots, and not much is expected from him. And that way, anything he provides seems to be a boost.
I mean, that's a fair point. That's definitely a fair point, and you could see that happening again, but it's a good problem to have. And remember, they have McCoy on this team who, like you said, Al, had some good catches yesterday, but once again, when it came down to it, that should have been a touchdown. He drops it. Scotty Miller drops the touchdown. So, yeah, you've got to get better with that. There was plenty of drops yesterday. Even Coach Arians talked about that today, where he said there was at least
if LeSean McCoy doesn't make a catch the entire game except for the touchdown catch, that would have been fine. Right. But that touchdown catch was something that he absolutely had to have. And Scotty Miller as well. And here's the thing. Here's the thing with Brady. Because Brady is very much about going to people that he can count on. Okay? He's built a relationship with Scotty Miller because in many ways, Scotty Miller is that Patriot receiver. Is the overachiever. Is that guy that, may not have all the, may not have the size and the speed and all that stuff, but he's just a really good football player, good little athlete, and he can make plays. Well, that's a time when you got to make that play. And if he makes that play and catches the ball in the first half and the touchdown is there, believe me, Tom Brady would have done more to find him more throughout the game. And that could have been a watershed moment for Scotty Miller as far as saying, okay, how often will he get the ball here in the next couple of games? Because he had an opportunity there to really solidify what he means to this team. And more importantly, Tom Brady, and he just missed out on that opportunity by having a drop. And he doesn't normally do it, but he did that spot. And so, believe me, nobody knows that more than Tom Brady.
Yeah, and again, 125 yards worth, which is what Coach Arians said today. 7 drops, could have been 3 touchdowns, and he also said Brady could have had a 400-yard day as some of those catches. And he basically just said, just catch it. And that's what I was saying when Sorrell Grayson dropped it. It hit him right in his helmet, and you had Miller and you had McCoy and Watson drop one, although he had a long one. So guys got to step up, especially when a Godwin is out. And once again, good thing that Godwin is coming back to this offense, because if you had to depend on some of these receivers, I think Miller's done better than Watson. But if you have to depend on them, I'm just not sure if you're very comfortable with that. I'm just not. What do you think, Matt?
Well, the main thing they wanted and they needed to get Mike Evans involved. They did. He was involved. And he was playing like a man that had to prove something to prove. He did that. Okay. The other thing is they needed to get the running game involved. Somehow, some way. They did with Fournette. So those are two of the big things they really needed. And the fact that they were missing Godwin, one of those other receivers had to step up. They had just enough from everyone else in order to make it happen. And the thing is, they have got to get Gronk involved. Gronk didn't come back for this. He did not come back to block and only get a couple of targets per game. And they've got to do a little bit more to feature him. And I think part of it is, here it is, 2 games in, I think they're trying to pick their spots in order when they want to get Gronk involved. And they want to do it in a game to where they're taking on someone that's a key, person, either, a key element either in the NFC or the NFC South. So, it may be a couple of weeks before we see that. But, they're going to have to get Gronk involved somehow, some way.
Yeah, I agree. No, I definitely agree with that. And even Coach Arians talked about that today. We'll get to those comments in a moment. What else, Matt?
I just want to move on to next week with the Broncos.
Mm-hmm.
They put Locke on IR today, I think it was.
Yeah, he's got an AC joint, so it's not a good thing when a quarterback has a shoulder problem. And once again, Bucs getting a break. Not only are the Broncos going to be without a Von Miller and also an AJ Boye, but also their starting quarterback, and they're going to have to depend on the likes of Jeff Driscoll, who a lot of Gator fans are familiar with him, but he doesn't have a lot of NFL experience. So you would think that the Bucs and their defense would have some type of advantage, especially here, Matt and Al, with Shaq Barrett having no sacks and going back to where he used to play. You know that he's going to be extra motivated.
Yeah,
Well,
he's going to.
Here's the thing.
Numbers that they always come in bunches. Last year when he got started, he got like 3 in a game, and then a week went by, he didn't get one, and the next week went by, and he got another 1 or 2 until they snowballed up. And then when Pierre Paul come in and started taking some of the pressure off of him, it went up a little bit, but he got a few more. And last year what he was doing was timing the cadence. You would watch him, he'd be like a track star on the blocks, and he jumped the ball. And sometimes he got flagged for it, but more often than not, he was coming through as soon as the center was picking the ball up to hand to the quarterback.
Right.
So I haven't seen that yet. I didn't see him doing that yesterday or I haven't seen him do it yet.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's because Todd Boyles has told him not to, or if he knows he's going to get his chance against a different matchup, which will be easier for him, like next week. So he may not get the Warren Sapp record again, but I don't think with JPP in for the full season that you're going to see Shaq Barrett produce as much. They're going to split that.
He may not. And that's a good, again, that's a good thing. Somebody's not going to be able to duplicate 19 and a half sacks a year. You're just not going to be able to do it. But if you can get double-digit sacks or you can get pressures, which he did somewhat yesterday on Bridgewater, I think you're definitely going in the right direction. Good stuff, Matt. Thanks a lot for the call. Appreciate you, all right? Definitely call back.
You guys have a good night.
All right, yeah. Going back to the Barrett thing, any concern with 2 games?
Peter, what's the first thing that an opposing offensive coordinator is going to look at when he's playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? He's going to look at Shaq Barrett and see what he did a year ago. Believe me, nobody knows more than these opposing offensive coordinators, than the offensive coordinator, than Sean Payton in New Orleans, and yesterday in Carolina with Brady. Those guys know more than anybody else who Shaq Barrett is and what he can do. So job one for this opposing offense is to make sure that someone takes care of Shaq Barrett. So, that's a problem with going out and having 19 and a half sacks. Opposing defenses are going to make sure, if anything, you take care of that guy first. So that's simply what's happening. They know what Shaq Barrett's going to do. They know how Shaq Barrett got his sacks a year ago. They know all about Shaq Barrett. Now it's up for the Bucs to put him in better situations to where he can do what he does best. I don't have a problem with the way this Buccaneer defense has played throughout these first 2 games. And quite honestly, it looks to me like offensively, the Buccaneers have kind of had a problem adjusting to what the opposing teams are doing. Now, 21-0 the lead yesterday. They come out in the second half, and I think, again, there were, a couple turnovers both sides, and the quarter just ended up being Carolina having the ball the majority of the time. And I think the major problem with that was the Bucs defense just couldn't get off field, and Carolina would just kind of grind it out. And so I think that defense got tired, and that's when all of a sudden Carolina kind of got back in the football game. But you still had the feeling that the Bucs were very much in control, and the fact that the Bucs were able to make the plays offensively in the fourth quarter had to look better. But I still, this has been something that has been chronic with this football team for the last few years, not just this coaching staff. I haven't seen them adjust in the second half offensively and pull away in the second half. Now, we saw that in the fourth quarter, but a lot of that had to do with Leonard Fournette and the fact that he just started to grind things out. And, he's a guy in the fourth quarter. If you're trying to make a comeback and you're a defensive player, the last guy you want to see is Leonard Fournette, because he's going to hurt you. He is going to run right over you. That ain't scheme. That ain't anything fancy. That's Leonard Fournette simply being big and nasty and running over you. So what the Bucs have to do is have enough of a lead heading into the fourth quarter to allow him to do it again. But I think that's going to be a formula you're going to see. You know, the Bucs are going to try to get Mike Evans involved, get that early lead, hang on in the third quarter, and then in the fourth quarter, if they've got a lead, you just hand it to Fournette and let him just salt the thing away.
Now, going back to Tom Brady, Coach Arians said in his presser, the game should have never got as close as it did. We let them back in. I thought he played outstanding. His leadership on the sideline was great. He put us in right plays on a number of different audibles. He played really, really well. With the Gronk stuff, we've got a nice pass interference call from us. We missed him on the over route. I'll tell you what, let's hold up on the call right now. I want to read this, and then we'll get back to, I think Tristan is calling in, and I know we got Johnny Dean calling in for a little bit. We missed him on the over route. We're not throwing the ball 50 times to tight ends. That's why we have good receivers, and that's the reason why the offense is built around. Gronk's playing great with his run blocking in the fourth quarter, so I'm not concerned with his pass catches or his targets. He also says Tom Brady has the ball. He decide where he's going. Right now he's reading defenses. He's taking whatever the defense is giving him, and we don't force passes to anybody. What a difference a year makes, Al. But, concern about Gronkowski here, and I think this is kind of brought up in our previous shows where we're not really sure if a tight end like a Gronkowski is talented as he is, or maybe he's lost a step. There's never been really that many tight ends that translate into this offense. Is this just the case of where a tight end like a Gronkowski is going to be more used as a run blocker instead of a pass catcher like he was in previous years?
No, I just think they're waiting for their spots.
Okay.
You know, you don't want to show your whole hand in week number 1 or week number 2.
Good point.
You want to save that for later in the season when you really have to count on it. And I think that's where it is. All that being said, Gronk didn't come back to simply block for the run game. There will come a time during the season when Gronk will have several games to where he makes key catches at key times. But they've got to get him involved. Now, they had to get, Evans involved. They did in that first half, and you saw the difference that it made in the offense. Tom Brady is Tom Brady. He has, he can still play an extremely high level. And let's not forget that probably one of the 10 best wide receivers in football was taken out of the lineup last week. So that really affects how your offense is going to be run. And Scotty Miller makes that catch. LaShawn McCoy makes that catch. It ain't 31-17. It's a whole lot higher than that. And it's a different type of ball game. Now, they will get Gronk involved. It may not be this week at Denver, but it will come a time a little bit later in the season when they have a key game. And believe me, Gronk will be called upon, and Gronk will be expected to make some key plays, and he will.
Yeah, and it almost seems like he's kind of foreshadowing what he wants to do, because he actually said that defensive coordinators, he doesn't think defensive coordinators are paying attention to him. And I think he's trying to play a poker game at this juncture. You're exactly right. He's trying to pick the right matchup. And then early on with him helping out with the rookie and helping out with the offensive line, because the offensive line the last couple games, I think the first game definitely had a rough game. With all that being said, Donovan Smith, is that still a question mark for you? He played a lot better than he did against the Saints, but there were still moments where you were like, Al, I don't know how this guy is a starting left tackle in this league.
He's making $14.5 million a year. I just think they can expect a little more out of him. Now, it was a huge improvement from week 1 to week 2, but there still needs to be an improvement there. And I think we were all thinking, in fact, we had talked about it last week.
Yeah.
If Donovan Smith just has an average game, an average left tackle game the week before against the Saints, it's a different ball game. Okay, well, he had kind of an average week for a left tackle, and that may be the ceiling for this guy. I don't know. Believe me, the Buccaneer front office has higher hopes for the guy than I think the rest of us do. So, and Jason Light, picked him. What was he, a second round pick?
Yeah.
So they expect a little more from him, a whole lot more from him. As fans, we expect a whole lot more from him. And let's see what happens. I think we're going to see a whole lot more from Gronk. They will have a time when they target him. I don't think it'll be against the Broncos, but you're going to have the Packers coming up pretty soon. So, you might just kind of keep that in the back of your head. Wouldn't it be interesting if the key receiver for the Bucs against the Packers ends up being Gronk? You don't want to, show your hand at this point in the season, until you absolutely have to. So to me personally, I would just kind of, I would just pick my spots with Gronk. I would keep him happy so that he just isn't doing dirty work. But I would point to that Green Bay game, because that Green Bay game, even though it's not a division game, it is a conference game. And it's a game that on down the road could make a difference come playoff time. So what you want to do is do everything you can at that point to make sure you're hitting on offensively on all cylinders and making sure that Gronk is a part of that offense. And that could be a key against the Packers. That's coming up here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, and that's a tough team, and that's a team that can score offensively. There's some question about how good defensively they are. So you're exactly right. I think the other thing I'm surprised about is even though O.J. Howard got a touchdown in the first week, he had a drop, really didn't see much of him. And then Cameron Brate, he's been a man on the milk carton. I'm not sure, once again, how they're going to incorporate all these tight ends. I get it. It's a good problem. I also get it because I see Johnny Dean's comment of the 400 missed reps and this and that. And the other thing, there's other teams around the league that are using their weapons, and you just kind of wonder, once again, do you have too much at that position?
Well, it's week 2.
Yeah.
And what you're trying to do is do what you need to do to beat any particular opponent. Believe me, over at $1 and with opposing defenses around the National Football League, they're not thinking, well, you know what, Gronk has got to get X amount of targets. Cameron Brate has got to get X amount of targets. O.J. Howard's got to get X amount of targets. We got to expect to see some of that. Here's the thing: on any given week, the Bucs are game planning for weaknesses in that opposing defense. But again, that at this point in the season, week number 2, you don't want to come out and show everything you got. You want to win in a way that is as least obvious as you possibly can, so that there isn't a play that you're going to want to pull out in week 7 that could be a surprise. There isn't a matchup that you're looking to exploit maybe in week 14 or maybe even in the playoffs on down the road. You want to exploit that then and know that you've got that in your pocket. So my main thing is that when they had the opportunities yesterday, with the exception of those drops and those 2 particular drops in the end zone, for the most part, the Bucs made the plays that they needed to make. And anytime you're playing a team in the National Football League, your goal is simply this. All you want to do is win. That's all you don't get style points. I mean, you don't look in the standings and see 1-1 and then see +3 or +4 because you accomplished certain things and you get style points. It doesn't work that way. All you want to do is win. And it's kind of like Joshua Cole Allen in our fantasy league. He just needs to be able to put up a win. And I know I played him last week and won, and he's getting hammered this week. So I didn't know this, but I played my homecoming game in week number 1. Okay. So you don't want to be everyone's homecoming opponent. And Joshua Cole Allen is kind of that homecoming opponent in our fantasy league. The Bucs, no matter who they're playing, They've got to do what they need to do against that opponent, get that win, and then move on.
All right, I'll tell you what. Well, we had a phone call. I'll tell you what, go ahead and get on the 320solar.com hotline, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with the Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend, Mr. Al Keck. Let's go out to these webheads here. Let's see what the people are talking about. Johnny Dean, Raiders score second quarter 10-7 now. Last check, it was 17-7, so maybe I'm not right about everything. I was thinking an upset tonight, but I'm not sure if it's going to happen. Let's go out to Johnny Dean, the professor. Welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. What's on your mind? You're on with yours truly, along with the Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend, Al Keck.
Every team in the league, all the fans, excuse me, not teams nobody. Every one of the fans and every one of the teams in the league are sitting down doing the same thing we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
We're picking apart all the problems with their team. Every one of them are. Kamara, what did Kamara do against the Bucs?
Nothing.
But
We had 3 touchdowns.
He comes in and
Right.
53 yards in the first quarter already, and he's already increased on that. So, other teams are using their weapons, but they're not doing any better. It's just everybody is sloppy right now.
Well, I think, I don't know, Baltimore's sloppy. I definitely don't.
They are. If there ain't a team that's sloppy, it would be Baltimore. But they've had their sloppiness too. Trust me, the Ravens group is going crazy with some of the stuff.
Okay. All right. Again, though, I'm going to question it because it came out today. It was a question out there about Gronkowski not getting his targets. And like Al said, he didn't come here necessarily to block, even though he's good at it. So I think there is some type of concern there of
I'm with Al. I think Gronkowski needs a little bit more time, and I think they might see a lot of heavy dose of him in the second half of the season.
You're probably right. You're probably right about that because he's had to help most of the time with the rookie and with this offensive line. And I think this offensive line has to get in check, to really spread out these tight ends and do some things. And I don't think they necessarily been able to do it, not just because they just haven't had the time. They haven't had the reps like you talk about, but also if your line is getting pressured and your quarterback is continually getting hit, then of course you're going to have to keep tight ends in there.
Well, let's go back to the Patriots' last Super Bowl victory.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Who was a hero for the Patriots as far as receiving was concerned in that Super Bowl? It was Rob Gronkowski.
Right.
And everyone had talked about the fact that he wasn't the same Gronkowski. He wasn't the same Gronk as he had been in previous years. He had been battling injuries and wasn't being targeted like it was before, and this and that and all that stuff. If I'm the Bucs, and if you can hold him back and just give him enough so that he's happy and doesn't feel like he's just being abused and having to do the dirty work until the playoffs, until games that really, really count, and then you go after him, as far as Brady finding him, that'd be the greatest thing in the world. So I don't want to see the Bucs targeting him like crazy in week 1, week 2, week 3. Go on later in the season and let him just kind of lay in the weeds. And then when you really need him, that's when you pull him through. And because he can be that dominant player. I don't want, personally, opposing defenses preparing for Gronk like they would have 5 years ago. So let him prepare for the other stuff. And when it's time to get Gronk involved, you get him involved and you go from there.
All right, Johnny, what else?
Well, October, September, these are the months that you're eliminating plays from your playoff run playbook.
Mm-hmm.
You know that, right? You don't win playoffs in September and October. You prepare for the playoffs in September and October.
Okay.
That's it, bud.
All right, Johnny.
Oh, by the way, it's 14-17 now. Raiders are about to score because they off pretty.
So there you go. So it is a close game. It's not a blowout like everybody thought it was going to be, right?
I said 10 points, and I'm sticking with it.
Well, it's 3 points right now, so you'd be losing, but you're exactly right. It's early. I still think the Raiders win that game. It's 2020.
All right, later on, bud.
All right, man.
Yeah.
See ya. 3-1 Lightning over the Dallas Stars. They scored. I don't know who scored. That's your Stanley Cup final right now, game 2 here on the Evolution. Let's go back out to the webheads here. Talk to these guys. Raiders, Tristan says to bench Rojo. To the bench, Rojo. Fournette will replace Rojo eventually. As soon as Fournette gets the playbook under control, he will take the top spot. Christopher Cole, hey, let's go Bucs. Tristan, week 4 or 5, Fournette will take the job, get 1K, only to be released next year. I'm not sure if he's going to be released. If he runs for 1K, I think the Bucs have a good problem on their hands. They'll try to create some money for him. One game at a time. What's up, everybody? Johnny Dean, Saints are in the red zone again. All right, touchdown Saints. Let's go out to Tristan. Welcome to the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. You're on with yours truly, along with Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend, Mr. Al Keck, here on the 320 Solar hotline. Go ahead.
Yeah. First, just not to be rude, I'd like to go ahead and acknowledge Al Keck. You, Ted Webb, and Chris Thomas are football. So, let's get into it.
Okay.
Peter, last week you guys called me crazy, like I had no idea what I was talking about.
Okay.
Now, we kind of have to break down what we did yesterday.
What did we do yesterday? We won the game. You had an accurate quarterback. You had a running game finally, which is what I've talked about with the previous administration, the quarterback that was here. You didn't necessarily have that. You had a running game yesterday, so it provided balance. Was it the most was this the greatest offense ever? No, I think it's going to get better, and it also would be helped with Godwin being in that offense. So I think anything that you saw yesterday, unless Godwin is in that offense, I'm not sure if you can put so much into it. Does that make sense?
It does. It makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
But me being objective, just being a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan all my life, I kind of look at this game and there's a lot of stuff that worries about me.
Okay, what worries you?
Let's talk about Gronk. And I think Al Keck hit the nail right on the head. Gronk did not come out here to be a glorified offensive lineman. And we also didn't pay him $10 million to be a glorified offensive lineman.
Right. Still getting paid $10 million, so he's good to go. He's getting paid that. So are you trying to say right? But are you trying to say there's going to be some adversity where he could disrupt the locker room? I'm not sure if that's going to happen. If that's where you're going with it.
No, but you have players on your team who can swing the pendulum, so to speak.
Okay.
And Gronk is one of them guys. When Gronk scores, he spikes the ball with that mighty spike, and he does what he does. That invigorates the locker room. You know what I mean? On the side of the ball, it hypes the defense up.
Okay.
And it's the difference between boring football and just football.
Okay, that's fair.
And it increases morale. You know what I mean? In Jedi, they call it battle meditation for the Jedi.
Okay.
Okay, so it's not only that Gronk is getting a lack of production from the position, it's the position in totality that's not putting up on the field. O.J. Howard and Cameron Brake are also becoming non-existent in this offense.
Well, even Coach Arians said today that it's more designed for wide receivers. They're not going to throw to tight ends 50 times a game. So I get that. We've seen that. I think it also goes back to how much do you want to win? If you only get 2-3 catches a game and you still win games, are you happy? I think Gronk would be happy with that. I do. Deep down, I think he would be happy winning games. Don't you?
I would agree. But it's the struggle in which we won that game yesterday. Like, we can probably agree the Carolina Panthers are probably going to be a lottery pick team. Like, they're probably going to be picking top 5 next year.
They could be. They could be definitely tanking for Trevor Lawrence, but I'll take into account again, here's every team, like Johnny said, that's playing sloppy. Do you let them get back in after you're up 21-0? Absolutely not. But it happens in the National Football League. It's not like Teddy Bridgewater and Matt Rule are going to roll over because they're the Bucs. They're going to continue to play their game. The one thing that I think you take out of this is what Al said, is the difficulty with a lead with this team. It seems like they don't necessarily make those adjustments in the second half. They do go a little bit conservative, and that definitely comes back to haunt them.
Well, and this is where my position last week became misinterpreted.
Okay.
I think that you guys were using the juxtaposition of Jameis Winston instead of Tom Brady, as opposed to recognizing Tom Brady for what Tom Brady is right now.
And what is Tom Brady?
Tom Brady yesterday, he had a great first half. I don't think that anybody can complain about that first half of football.
Okay.
You'll be a liar if you complained about that first half of football. But that second half, oh my God. You do realize that the Buccaneers offense, aside from Leonard Fournette, was non-existent.
I agree. Yeah, he was not good in the third quarter. I believe he went like 4 for 8 or 4 for 9 in the second half. So yes, once again, it wasn't good.
Second half total accumulation was less.
But hey, guys, why is that? Why were they non-existent in the second half? Well, you had Ronald Jones that made a huge turnover.
Right
now. Brady did throw an interception, but Carolina is not built to score quickly. They're built to kind of grind things out, take things slowly, and build from there. And that's what they did in that third quarter. And I think, quite honestly, that Buccaneer defense got tired being on the field. I just don't. I mean, I didn't see this as a poor performance by the Bucs, even though they only won 31-17. It could have been a whole lot worse. And again, I hate dealing ifs, but Scotty Miller makes that catch in the first half. And then later in the game, LaShawn McCoy makes that catch. And they don't have to settle for a field goal there. It's a runaway. And you don't want to show your hand. You want to win right now in a way that shows as less and as little as you possibly can. And they're going to, right now the feeling is obviously with this team, because from what we've seen so far, that they're going to use as little of Gronk in the passing game as they feel they need to right now. Later in the season, it'll be a different story. And I think it's more important than later in the season. But what they needed this week, they needed a win. So they did just enough to get that win. They win, 31-14 or whatever it was.
31-14,
and they end up, despite losing the time of possession battle, by 10 minutes, losing the yards battle by almost 100 yards. I think if you watch that game and, sit back and look at it, you see that the Buccaneers really dominated that game, except for the early part in that second half. And I think it's just because they couldn't get off the field. And it didn't hurt the Buccaneers to not get off the field. And so, but when they had to make the plays at the end to salt the game away, they did. Now, they did it with Leonard Fournette, which I think, get ready for that. That's what it's going to be like. It's going to be Ronald Jones. Ronald Jones will have his moments, but Leonard Fournette, this is why they signed Leonard Fournette. And the Bucs, when you see them throwing all over the yard in the first half, when it's not a close game or just starting a game, that's when they're throwing the ball over the yard. In the fourth quarter, if they have the lead, they're going to hand it Fournette. They're just going to, and I would too. So we'll see what happens.
And I think that was the old Bucs ball. I mean, when the defense needed to make a play, Carlton Davis, that was encouraging. When Jordan Whitehead, they didn't do that last week versus the Saints. So your defense causes 4 turnovers. They get 5 sacks. You run the ball. You don't necessarily do a lot offensively to score a lot of points. You just do enough. It seemed like to me, Tristan, you being a Bucs fan, that was old Bucs ball to me.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
And I think, and my cause for concern is what we've seen from these first 2 weeks, right? What we've seen from these first 2 weeks is, I think, is now going to command a better coaching job from Bruce Arians.
Okay.
I think that this offense, now, I know it's crazy and the notion is crazy. Again, I don't think we're talented enough. Clearly, without Chris Godwin, it's obvious that we're top heavy.
That's fair.
You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, I think that maybe we need to change. In fact, I'm not going to say maybe, that the philosophy of this offense, and I know BA wants to implement a system, but also BA has only worked with Hall of Fame quarterbacks. So with that being said, I think that the Tampa Bay offense need not be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers featuring Tom Brady. I think that the philosophy needs to lean towards the Tampa Bay Buccaneers featuring Leonard Fournette.
I think that's certainly possible, and I know where you're going with this. And I'll tell you the encouraging thing and the thing that's different is, comparing those quarterbacks. If you're in the red zone, I feel like Winston would try to force the ball. Brady's not going to. He's going to take what the defense gives him. So what you're theoretically saying is you can build this offense about your running game. You can ask this quarterback to be a game manager because you have so many weapons. And with the defense, you can still win. So to me, I think you can win both ways. You can win with Brady maybe airing it out. Maybe you're not able to do that because your offensive line isn't strong enough, especially on that left side. But if you have a running game, that takes the pressure off of trying to throw 30 to 40 times a game. How many times a game did he throw yesterday? 35.
Yeah.
That's less than last year.
But
right. That's less than last year because his average was 41 times, right? So that's a good thing. Yeah. Okay.
Now, last year I told you guys if we limit JW throws, it might be the same outcome. But that's neither here nor there.
But the problem is with JW, with everything that we've talked about, JW turned the ball over the first half of the game. JW turned the ball over so the defense was in bad positions, so they were down 14-0. Tom Brady hasn't done that type of thing. I mean, yeah, he had a turnover, he had a couple turnovers against the Saints, but in this game, he didn't put the defense in those situations. So your defense is somewhat fresher than it was with the JW. That's the point.
Yeah, but again, Peter, 20 yards in a whole half of football, like that's kind of no matter what's happening on the field. From the GOAT, Tom Brady, 20 yards.
Well, they get Tristan. They get paid too. I mean, they got players, they got talent on that team. They can get after it and make adjustments.
The Carolina Panthers got talent on defense.
They got some.
Luke Kuechly retired.
I mean, you again.
Hey, guys. Who? This is the National Football League. Who cares? As long as they win. There's only 16 games. So who wins? That's the biggest stat out there. If they win, who cares how many yards they get in the second half? Now, I know it's boring. I know it's frustrating. I know it's not fun to watch. And I know you're probably, want to turn the TV off in the second half. But all these guys, when you have 16 teams or 16 games, all you want to do is get to the playoffs because there are 2 seasons. You get to the playoffs and then everything changes. So remember, all you care about in these games is that this team wins. Anything else doesn't matter. There's no yeah buts. There's no, but I only wish if, my dad used to say, I wish I could have a foursome with the Mandrell sisters. Okay. Now, he says, but that ain't going to happen. Okay. So, every time I told him, Dad, but I wish this, I wish that. And he would say, Dad, he said, kid, I wish I had a foursome with the Mandrell sisters. There's a whole lot of things we'd like to have, but it's just not in the cards to happen, nor is it important that it happens. So, I'd like to see this team go 6-0 and dominate every, opponent out there. Absolutely, because I'm spending my Sundays or Mondays or Thursdays with them. But the bottom line, all I want is for this team to end up 10-6, 11-5, 12-4 in the playoffs, and then things will get serious. And then we'll see what happens from there.
All right, Tristan, does that answer your question? What else?
Okay. Now, also, I think, I know a lot of people won't agree with this here's projection. Uh-huh. Next week versus the Broncos, what I see in the Broncos, I think the Broncos do well everything we do bad. What I mean by that is I think that we don't block well up front, and I think that Bradley Chubb is game. And I think that that's going to really be a litmus test as far as where we can start to gauge exactly what our deficiencies are next week. Well, and again,
I definitely think I mean, you're being given a break with Von Miller not being in that lineup, right? I mean, he's still one of the best in the league.
Yeah, Andrew Luck.
All right, I agree. So they're going to have an opportunity, but you're exactly right. It's going to be definitely a litmus test coming up against the Broncos, and then 2 weeks from now you have Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram. So this offensive line, it always starts up front. They're going to have to do a better job. They did a better job yesterday, but still there are times with Donovan Smith where you're like, man, I don't know if he's going to be able to keep Brady clean and Brady healthy. So I agree with you. There's definitely some concerns they have to work on. And once again, you may have to put a tight end on that side to help out a Donovan Smith and leave the rookie alone. Because I tell you right now, that's the one thing that I think you get excited about. The other side seems like Tristan Wirfs has definitely held his own. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah. And not only him, I think Ryan Jensen has showed up with the push up the middle. Leonard Fournette is able to break off guard as opposed to off tackle. And I think that's good how he's able to hit the hole and actually smash the hole because Jensen is getting that push up front.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing in which worries me is and I've been saying it for years, I think Vita Vea is kind of disappearing in the defense with Shaq Barrett being the focal point of offensive coordinator trying to stop him and Jason Pierre-Paul. I would think that this would be Vita Vea's time to shine, considering that all of the focus are on the edges versus the middle. And I would think of them going against the line yesterday, I would have liked to see a little bit more pop from Vita Vea.
Mm-hmm.
But, again, I'm going to hold my reservations and judgment till the end of the season when it's time to pay the guy.
Okay.
Now, also, my other position is, and I like to bring everything full circle and juxtapose my position last week. The problem I have with this team is not a matter of skill. I think that our corners have grown exponentially. Our wide receiver between Evans is a top 5 receiver in this game just based on stats alone. But I don't think that we have the talent right now into where Brady can really take advantage of it. I think that Brady usually, from what I've seen of Brady over the last 15 years, Brady usually works a lot of timing routes, quick short routes that can take it a long way. And Scotty Miller, hopefully Chris Godwin can get healthy and we can see it. But Scotty Miller seems to be the only guy that can take something from 10, something that's 6 yards from the line of scrimmage and take it 15, 20 yards.
Well, I think you saw Mike Evans yesterday.
On the edges with Evans.
I think you saw Mike Evans yesterday. Even though he was wide open, he still had some yak there. So these players definitely need to get healthy. I think they're very talented. Once again, it does start up front. You have to give them the time. If you give them the time, I think the sky is the limit. And even if he's not throwing for 300 yards, now if you have a running game, you take that pressure off of him. And once again, you make that defense account for the balance on this offense, which has been missing the last 5 years. Good stuff, Tristan. Thanks a lot for calling. Definitely use that second call. All right, boss?
Thank you. You have a good evening out there. I'll still be watching.
All right. Sounds good. There you go, Tristan. All right, let's get you out of here, Al. I know you got the Al Keck Show tomorrow night. What's coming up tomorrow night on the Al Keck Show live here on Bucs Report?
We have a good one. We have Garrett Bell, who's one of the top football writers in the country. He's with the USA Today. We will talk to him about the Buccaneers and about Tom Brady. And, we just will have our normal stuff and go from there. It'll be a good show. Looking forward to it. And sure, enjoy me Sunday, 10 o'clock in the morning, and on 102.5 The Bone. We'll get you ready for that Bucs game at Denver and their first real good look at this game on Sunday. And you don't want to miss that. Yesterday we had a great show. We had Jeff Carlson, who talked about, what it's like, these relationships between players and coaches. It was very interesting. He told a great story. When he was in New England, he was the backup quarterback. And he said that the starting quarterback at that time would always ask him, what's been in the papers the last couple of days? Because he doesn't want to read it, but he knew Jeff Carlson would read it. So he would ask Jeff Carlson what was in the paper. Great story there. So had Jeff Carlson and also had the head coach at Bowling Green University, Scott Loeffler, talking about what Tom Brady is really like, because Scott Loeffler is one of the best friends of Tom Brady. So we had a really good show there. And join me Sunday at 10 o'clock, Sunday morning, getting ready on 102.5 The Bone. And join me tomorrow night, 9 o'clock, from the palatial Peter Blake Studios. We will get you ready with Jarrett Bell from the USA Today.
All right, good stuff. And when you said Mandrell, Leo Haggerty, he was in the lobby there. I think his head nearly popped off. It was so funny. And he even wrote me in the private messenger about Barbara.
Yeah, well, because I mean, most of our webheads out there are too young. They don't know. But Leo Haggerty would say he's just old enough to know. Oh my God, a foursome with the Mandrell sisters. That makes sense. That makes sense. Yes. But as my dad would say, hey kid, I want to foursome with the Mandrell sisters. That ain't gonna happen. So, wishing really doesn't do you any good.
Yeah. My dad used to say when I would think like that, he'd say, you got nothing. You think you're all big and bad, but you got nothing. You better work hard for it, okay? And that's it.
There you go. And it's great advice. It has fueled you.
Yes, absolutely. For the evolution of sports talk television. Join the 65,000 following we have here on Facebook, of course, live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and that Bucs Report Twitch channel, which seems to have 1 or 2 viewers. We need to get those views up. So, Al Keck, we will see you tomorrow night here live on Bucs Report. Thanks a lot for your time. The 40-year sports broadcasting legend on the evolution of sports talk television, powered by 320solar.com.
All right. Thank you, Peter. We'll see you tomorrow night.
All right. There you go, Mr. Al Keck. Let's go out to a commercial break. And then when we come back, we will have the legend himself, former Coach Scout and now media member of Night Sports Productions, It's Sports Mag, Mr. Leo Haggerty. We'll ask him what he thinks about the Mandrell twins on the evolution of sports talk television. Here we go.
Power bill through the roof? At 320 Solar, that power bill will be no more. In fact, about 90% of our customers report lower solar payments than with electricity. That's more power in your pocket. 320 Solar. Power up. Going solar with 320 may cost you nothing down. But the work we do is not a $0 job. With a 10-year roof penetration warranty and solar panels guaranteed for 25 years, you can have peace of mind knowing we will do the job right every time without question. 320 Solar. Power up.
Come to Sam Ash for hundreds of exclusive holiday deals on music and sound gear from the most iconic brands. Save big on professional and starter guitars, drums, digital pianos, horns, violins, DJ, and electronic production equipment. Supercharge your home studio with deals on podcasting, streaming, and AV equipment like speakers, microphones, headphones, and acoustic treatment. Plus, with 36 months no-interest financing on thousands of items, you can get the gear of your dreams right now. From our incredible selection and service to our lowest price guarantee for over 95 years, real musicians know you only go to Sam Ash.
All right, welcome back to the evolution of Sports Talk Television, powered by 320solar.com. Again, finally say goodbye to your electric bill and go solar for zero out of pocket with 320solar.com. The current promotion is signed for zero out of pocket at 320solar.com, and don't pay anything, no payments until 2022. You heard me right, 2022, not 2021, 2022. That's 320solar.com. Tell them Peter Blake, the Sports Web, and Bucs Report sent you. So let's go out to Mr. Leo Haggerty, the legend himself, former Coach Scout, and now media member of Night Sports Productions. We got Johnny Dean on hold, but first and foremost, I'll get to Johnny Dean, the webhead here. But Leo, we haven't seen each other. We haven't heard from each other in the last 2 weeks. Have you changed your opinion of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, especially this offense?
Forget about that, Peter. I'll tell you what. Al Keck. Check out the Barbara Mandrell and the Mandrell sisters. My God, they were hot, Peter. All right, Peter. Let's be honest here.
Mm-hmm.
You want the good news or the bad news first?
Give me the good news first.
The good news is there's probably only about 4 teams right now that are playoff ready.
Okay.
The bad news is the Buccaneers are one of the other 28. They're not ready for the playoffs yet. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. I think when you look at this league, they're Seattle, Arizona, Arizona, Green Bay, and probably the LA Rams. 3 teams out of the West. Think about this. The 49ers are in last place in the West at 1-1. Arizona, remember when the Bucs got that missing piece when Simeon Rice showed up? Well, the missing pieces just showed up in Arizona on offense with DeAndre Hopkins and on defense with Isaiah Simmons, both Clemson grads. And believe me, Arizona is just on fire. But the Buccaneers are still missing. They're not hitting on all cylinders. They had 7 drop passes yesterday. And Peter, Shady McCoy will never drop a pass like that in his life again. And the one that hit the poor receiver in the head, it's hysterical because Bruce Arians said, "Yeah, you drop it. He ain't throwing it to you anymore." And that's the thing about Tom Brady. You better produce, because if you don't produce, you're not going to get a whole lot of second chances with him.
Yeah, you had 7 drops yesterday. It could have been 3 touchdowns, could have been over 400 yards. It was way different. Most likely would have blown out the Carolina Panthers, but that's the difference between a good and a great team. You take advantage of those opportunities. If you give a team a second chance to get back into the game, they definitely did that, and that's what they did. Although, keeping Christian McCaffrey at bay, holding them over 100 rushing yards, very impressive. And this defense, once again, 5 sacks, 4 turnovers caused. You just can't say enough about this defense, which I feel like they kind of got shredded in the first week. But you look at it, they really didn't give up that many points. It was turnover situation and also holding Drew Brees to 160 passing yards, holding Kamara under 100 rushing yards. That's impressive. This defense has been on a roll.
And you know what, Peter? If you look at the Saints game, there's a pick six, there's a fumble on a kickoff. That the first rule of a kickoff is you never back up. That's why guys are behind you. So, that's just like a mental error that they'll fix. But you know what, Peter? I got to disagree with your caller right at the end of the segment with Al. Those defensive tackles played lights out yesterday. I mean, Ndamukong Suh, he caused the first interception by being in the passing lane. Vita Vea, if you watch that goal line play, forces Teddy Bridgewater to pull it down and actually reload, so he has to throw it like to the 3-yard line and they can make the tackle. So again, those guys, and they're getting great pressure up the middle. They are putting pressure on. And again, by forcing Bridgewater out of the pocket early, that was that first sack. And Peter, I want to go to the one play I texted you on. The Ronald Jones's score. Sometimes you get the defense to do the thing you want them to do. The Carolina defense, when the Bucs were there, they were in 12 formation. They had both tight ends to the right. The defense slanted to their left, and they were running a play back to the right. They pushed everything down. Ronald Jones was one-on-one, and you know what? He's going to win a lot of those one-on-ones, and he did. The second thing is the big pass to Evans against the Tampa 2, where he recognized it right away. He outran the middle linebacker and got into the middle, which is the soft spot. That's the thing that happened last week that Evans didn't recognize, that it was the Tampa 2, and he stopped. This week he recognized it, whole different animal.
Yeah, we're on with Leo Haggerty. I tell you what, let's go out to our 320 Solar hotline. Johnny Dean, the professor, he wants to talk to you. He also wants to rebut Tristan here. I think he just burped. I don't know what that was. You're okay there, Johnny Dean, the professor? I thought you just died there. We got Leo Haggerty on the line with us here. You want to talk about Vita Vea and this defensive tackle? He was agreeing with you. He's saying the same thing about this defensive tackles. They're very active, and they do a lot in the run and the pass rushing.
Yeah, I don't know what game Tristan's watching, but Vay is one of the most disruptive players on our line.
Well, I'll tell you what, let me make this clear. I know what Tristan's watching because it's the same game that Warren Sapp is watching when he tweeted out last week. I'm tired of this defense. The problem is, guys, it's not the same Tampa 2 defense. It's completely different. The defensive tackles are asked to do something completely different from the Tampa 2, and the fans, they keep on thinking of those defensive times where you have to do this and this and that. It's not the same thing, right, Johnny and Leo?
You know what, Peter? The job of the defensive tackles, Sue, Golston, Vea, their job is to keep the centers and the guards off of the linebackers. Why do you think Devin White is making double-digit tackles? They're not getting to the second level. That's their job. The Tampa 2 was all about one gap. That's all they controlled. And when you ask Rod Marinelli, the Buccaneers played the run on the way to the pass. They didn't worry about that. Their job was to get to the passer. The Bucs defensive philosophy is a little bit different. They want to eat up double teams with those defensive tackles. They want Sue and they want Vea to eat up 4 guys. Now they can't double on the wings with JPP or Barrett, and they don't get to the linebackers. That's the key. You know, you got Levante David, you got Devin White. They're just running free. And you know what? If that happens, they're going to win a lot of football games.
Absolutely. Johnny, you want to go ahead and echo those sentiments?
I agree 100% with Leo on that. Not only that, but this year we're running a lot of safety blitzes and cornerback blitzes, and we're dropping Shaq and JPP into coverage. Not only that, but did you notice that they was dropping back and knocking tight ends off the routes?
Yes. Yes, they've done a lot of that with their edge players too, and JPP and Shaq, right, Leo?
Yeah, you're starting to see a lot of what they call zone blitzes. And what they'll do is they'll bring a defensive back and they'll drop either a linebacker or a defensive lineman. In fact, you saw Shaq Barrett out in the coverage early in the game on the fumble. He dropped off and he had McCaffrey in the flat. So again, we're starting to see the defense get an idea and get a comfort zone with what Todd Bowles wants to do. Todd Bowles is going to blitz, and more blitz because he's got athleticism on the edges. JPP and Barrett can play in coverage. Vita Vea and Sue can drop back into that hook zone and be big. And again, that's what happened yesterday. Now, again, Carolina's not the Seattle Seahawks. They're not the Los Angeles Rams. They're not the Green Bay Packers. But you know what? Those guys are getting paid. And they have guys over there that are playmakers. So anytime, and again, I like Al's analogy about being a fourth with the Mandrell sisters. All you want to do is win. That's the only set. You know, stats are for losers, Peter. You know, people make up, we won this, we won that. Did you win the game? One word, scoreboard. Did you win the game? And you know what, Peter? The biggest thing that came out of that game was Leonard Fournette as the closer. My Lord, I tell you what, and everybody's saying, well, now he should be the starter. No, no, no. You want to have him as the closer. He comes in with fresh legs, and he is a battering ram. You know, Steve Arcardapone made a statement on my radio show when talking about the running back from Tennessee, who's a little bit large, Derrick Henry. And I said, you got to make a business decision to tackle him. He said, no, you make a business decision in the first quarter. You make a retirement decision in the fourth quarter. Leonard Fournette is that kind of guy. He's a guy that you're going to make a decision whether you want to retire or not if you got to hit him in the fourth quarter. He is a load.
He was a load, and you know, look, going back to comparisons, and you know, comparisons are kind of asinine, but it kind of reminded you of old Bucs ball days. Not the best offense. Get out early, kind of give up the lead a little bit, still have the lead, have your defense shut them down, and then when you need a play to close it out, it's usually Alstott up the gut. Now it's Fournette up the gut. Do you think that eventually they're going to exercise that right, where they're going to have Ronald Jones as the guy that's going to be the backup, and Fournette will be your bell cow runner?
No.
Okay.
No. Peter, you know why? If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Okay.
And again, Jones gives you that. Fournette comes in, it's a complete change-up. Now you're trying to hit somebody who is about 230, 240 pounds. He's a big human being. Ronald Jones is shifty. And again, what you got is a nice 1-2 punch there. And then you bring in Shady McCoy, who can be that pass catcher, be that blocker in the pass protection. I like what they're doing. I wish I could see how Cameron Brake gets off the milk carton. You don't see him at all. He's like the vanishing American in there. And, you know, Ian Beckles brought up a great point. You're paying a guy $7 million to play 4 downs. And that just can't happen.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit concerned about Gronk. He doesn't look comfortable yet. And I figure it's going to take him another 2 or 3 weeks just to get comfortable. And Peter, here's the big problem about Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to Denver. That's not the problem. Is the altitude. Peter, playing at Mile High, it is a whole different animal for teams that are not used to it. Watch the Bucs make wholesale changes early until they get used to the altitude, because it does just suck the wind right out of you.
Johnny Dean, what else, buddy?
The Fournette thing, I think they are going to have to make a decision, but it's not going to be this year on Fournette or Jones, because they're both going to have contracts coming up together.
Well, I think, again, depending on what happens, and just to update the game, it looks like Dallas scored again. So now it's 3-2 Tampa Bay in Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Final here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with the legend here, Mr. Leo Haggerty, former coach, scout, and now media member of Night Sports Productions at Sports Mag. Fournette, to me, gives you what you want in Jones, and you're hoping that's what Jones can be. He could be a pass protector. He could be catching the ball out of the backfield consistently. He gives you good vision. He holds on to the ball. He runs with power and some speed. That's what you want in a Jones. If Jones can't give you that eventually, I think you're going to make that shift. But I like what Leo said. They may just run that rotation, and when they need a closer, they ask Fournette to come in the fourth quarter. Keep in mind, guys, and we'll get you out of here, Johnny, on this. Fournette had.
We haven't seen what Vaughn has.
Right. Of course, not only that, you're going to have to see what Vaughn has. You still have McCoy on this team. I get that. But keep in mind, Fournette had a lot of success versus the Broncos, over 200 rushing yards last year. So I'm kind of thinking he may be trying to tell that coaching staff, look, if Jones falters and you don't get the rushing yards that you need, bring me in. I have success against this defense. I can have success again.
Right. I agree.
All right. Good stuff, Johnny Dean. Appreciate you. All right.
All right. Later, bud.
All right. Later. All right. So we talked about the running game situation and the defense. Carlton Davis, that play yesterday, the way he's played throughout this season and also last season, we always hear about, he's a top 10 corner. He's really showing it by shutting down some of these top wide receivers in the league, right?
He's playing well. And again, it all starts up front. You get a pass rush, It's going to make quarterbacks throw the ball. And Peter, what is Leo's rule 101? If a quarterback can throw it where he wants to, when he wants to, and to who he wants to, you're losing football games. The Buccaneers are forcing quarterbacks to throw it early or to pull it down and throw it late. That's the big thing. It's perfect when you look at that first turnover. Bridgewater had to scramble. He scrambles. He gets hit from behind. Out goes the football, and he was just getting ready to throw it. That's why it came out. So again, the Buccaneers defense, the pass rush is working. The coverage is working because it's forcing quarterbacks to go to a second receiver. And you know what? In the NFL, it's not a matter of time back there. It's a matter of, can you get rid of the ball? Because in a defense, there's always somebody open. They're just hoping you can't find them right away. And again, the big thing that the Buccaneers did yesterday is they were able to decipher, SAT word, the defense pre-snap. And again, the Saints gave them a myriad, second SAT word, of defensive looks. Carolina didn't do that. They were pretty much basic. You got cover 2, you got cover 3, and the Bucs exploited that. And again, if they catch half of the passes they drop, they probably got 40, 42 points, somewhere in there.
Yeah, you're probably right. And even Coach Arians mentioned that today, 125 yards left there. Also, 3 touchdowns by Brady, over 400 yards. Any concern about Brady? And the more concerned are you? Is it concern about Brady or the left tackle and Donovan Smith? He played better yesterday versus the Panthers, but once again, still moments of like, how is he a left tackle in this league? Why isn't he a guard? Because I don't know. I don't know what it is. And it goes back to what Arian said. Basically, there's points of where he basically wants to knock the crap out of somebody. He loses technique. He did it on the penalty situation where he was basically trying to drive somebody to the ground. He's got a hold of them. You know you're going to pick up a flag, and yet we still continue to see the same type of play from Smith throughout some ball games. I can't understand it. Is this coaching, or is this the lack of just getting it? Is he ever going to get it?
You know what, Peter? If I'm the head coach and Donovan Smith gets a holding penalty for basically pancaking somebody, when I'm showing the film on Monday, I'm going, hey, Donovan, keep doing that. Because there's just some time when the referee looks over and you have just annihilated that defensive player and he's on his back. The referee figures you had to do something illegal, so they're going to throw it for holding. Peter, if this is happening in October, then we start to worry. Again, that's preseason game number 2.
Okay.
These guys are not – think about it now. They had to come right away and play 4 quarters. That's not modus operandi in the NFL. Normally, the first preseason game, you play a quarter. The second preseason game, you play a quarter and a half. The third preseason game, you'll play a series into the third quarter. And the fourth preseason game, you got the ball hat on the sideline and you're waving to the subs. So, again, this was the second game. These guys are not in NFL hitting shape. Because look at all the plethora of injuries you're seeing throughout the league. And again, this team wins without Chris Godwin yesterday. No one's talked about that. We get Chris Godwin back, and Bruce Arians said he passed through the protocols, and that's fine. Again, Peter, I said to you in the beginning of the year, if Tom Brady can play 12 games and be standing in January, the Bucs have at least 10 wins. He's worth that much. So again, we look at what's happening. We're an impatient crew. We're expecting these guys to be at midseason form, and they're not. Neither team is. Very few. Look at the teams that are winning now. They either have established quarterbacks with their team, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, or you've got quarterbacks that are just athletic. You got Kyler Murray out of Arizona. You got Russell Wilson, who's a daggone magician. out in Seattle.
Right.
And I'll tell you what, don't count out Cam Newton. He is playing at a different level. Why? He's finally healthy.
Yeah, he's finally healthy. You're exactly right. I think that's one of the big time surprises. But I'm kind of wondering, looking back at this, do you feel like the NFL Players Association should talk to the NFL or should have talked to the NFL about kind of delaying the season and giving these players the opportunity to get into football shape? Because you look at the injuries right now, especially with the 49ers, Nick Bosa, it's feared it could be a torn ACL. Solomon Thomas with a knee injury, Saquon Barkley for the Giants, Christian McCaffrey with a high ankle sprain, Drew Lock with an AC joint. You got Cortland Sutton, another Bronco. So Bucs once again getting a break. Jimmy Garoppolo, Malik Hooker, Devontae Adams, Tavon Young. This is not what the NFL wants. They don't want their superstar players being hurt. Do you feel like, looking back at it now, that the NFL and NFL Players Association should have started this season a little bit later to get these players in football shape?
Absolutely, Peter. You are all over that. The first 2 weeks should have been the exhibition season. They should have kicked everything back, and this week should be the start at the earliest. I said to you, the league needed to start in October, play October, November, December, January, start the playoffs the end of January, February, and your Super Bowl be the end of February. That's what the daggone networks want. That's something the NFL should have considered. And now they're basically paying the price, because now they're seeing teams are decimated with injuries. And again, it's because they're not ready to play. It's not their fault. There's only been 14 padded practices, and it's just impossible to get yourself in football shape. Peter, for the layman out there or the laywoman who has no idea what it's like, you just don't walk out and play professional football. You just don't walk out and play college football. You need time. Look at what the Big Ten is doing. They're coming back the end of October. They're trying to get 4 weeks in so these guys can get ready. It's just something you just doesn't happen. So, Peter, it looks like that goal by the Lightning is going to be disallowed, and that's going to be painful.
Well, now is it still 3-2 now, Lightning?
It was 4-2. They just scored, but I think they're going to. Yeah, they did. They took that goal away. He was offside. Right.
So there you go. Still, the Lightning are leading 3-2 in Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Final here on the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with the legend, Mr. Leo Haggerty. We got Rick Hughes from the Cheap Seats coming up. I know one of your big concerns was Tristan Wirfs on that right side. Have you kind of changed a little bit? Here's a young man who faced Cameron Jordan. Besides the sack, he held him in check. He's held his own. The Bucs got a good one here, and they may have to consider, if Donovan Smith doesn't necessarily work out on that left side, maybe moving Tristan Wirfs to the left side next year.
Peter, people talk about moving offensive linemen, right side, left side. There's a whole different dynamic for playing right tackle or right guard to left tackle and left guard. For one thing, you're putting a different hand in the ground. You're always putting your outside foot back. So if you're playing right tackle or right guard, you're going to have your right hand down, your right foot back. If you're going to play left guard or left tackle, it's the other way around. You're going to put your left foot down, your left hand down, and your left foot back. And it seems like an easy thing to do, but it's not. Again, Peter, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And Donovan Smith right now is serviceable. He's fine. He's eager. He's over aggressive. I would love to have offensive linemen that are over aggressive, because now I'm not worried about what's going on. I just have to control that aggression so he keeps his technique. And again, Bruce Arians said that. He just wants to go out and bulldoze a guy. And most of these offensive linemen do. And he loses technique by trying to overpower people. So, again, he'll figure it out. It's not that hard. And, these guys, the hardest thing to play is offensive line, because 5 guys have to act as one. Think about it as your hand, right? If your thumb doesn't want to work, right, you can't hold on to anything. If your pinky doesn't work, right, now you've got problems to one side. These 5 have to work in unison. And that's the problem with offensive line. That's why you see offensive line coaches coach into their 60s, 70s because you can't find a good one. And when you find a good one, you don't want to lose them.
Oh, there you go. Good stuff. All right. Biggest surprise in the NFL right now. I know it's 2 weeks. Biggest disappointment. I mean, that game yesterday with the Falcons and the Cowboys.
Oh, fire Quinn. Fire Quinn.
I knew it. I told everybody on Friday night, and I still stand by this, and listen to me very good. The Falcons would be 0-2. The Panthers would be 0-2. The Bucs would be 1-1. The Saints would lose to the Raiders, and the story would be that Dan Quinn, once again, has a trash defense, which has not been able to get it together ever since they blew that 28-3 lead to the Patriots. I knew once they went up on the Cowboys would come back and win that game. To me, Dan Quinn is a dead man walking. So is that your biggest disappointment? How about your Philadelphia Eagles? What's going on?
They're out of bodies, basically. No, their offensive line is in shambles. Peter, I don't know if I was the owner of the Atlanta Falcons, I would have let Dan Quinn or the coaching staff back on the plane, because I'm texting Russ Cattengill down in New Orleans. I said, Russ, if he blows this lead, he'll get fired. I mean, they are up 24-0 or 24-7. Did you see the onside kick? That I have never seen anything like that before. No. Where the ball just, and all you got to do is watch what's going on and see that here comes the ball, just fall on it, kick it out of bounds, do something. All the Dallas Cowboys ran by it and waited for it, and there's an Atlanta Falcon guy looking at it, and all of a sudden it starts squirting the other way. I go, oh my God, this is just not going to happen. It can't happen to Atlanta again, and it did. And that was a shame. My surprise team, definitely the Arizona Cardinals. Definitely the Arizona Cardinals. They're the surprise team. My disappointing team, well, not the Eagles. How about the Lions? They got a game. They're going to beat the Bears. The guy drops the ball in the end zone. Drops the ball.
He pulled Sean McCoy yesterday. That's what he pulled. That's what it looked like. DeAndre.
Oh, God, no. Sean McCoy's was a difficult catch, but something he normally makes. This one was just like, put your hands out and catch it, and he dropped the thing. And I'll tell you what, Terry Bradshaw is just hammering Matt Patricia, saying, look, you're supposed to make a team better, and, you've got one of the – I'll tell you what, Stafford is a really good quarterback. How they just don't manage to win with him is beyond me. Well, again, Peter, they're the Detroit Lions, aren't they?
They're the Detroit Lions. They have no defense, and Patricia hasn't improved it. And once again, it shows when you're a Bill Belichick disciple, it doesn't necessarily guarantee you that you're going to have success in the NFL. Good stuff, Mr. Leo Haggerty. Got to ask you this, and we'll get you out of here. Get out to Rick Hughes from the Cheap Seats. When are you coming out to the Deck Bar and Grill to get some wings, get on these cameras, and participate in these pre-half and post-game editions of the Sports Web on Bucs game days?
Well, you know what, Peter? Let's get a couple more weeks under our belt where it's safe. I don't want to bring anything home. It's I'll be out eventually. Let's make my appearance the first week in October. How's that?
First week in October is my birthday month, so there you go. Thanks a lot for the birthday present, Mr. Leo Haggerty, the grandfather I never had, the legend himself, former Coach Scout and now media member of Night Sports Productions. It's Sports Mag. Hey, when you're around me and I'm around you, we're always going to eat well, my friend, right?
Absolutely. And I'll tell you what, Peter, Google the Mandrell sisters. You will be impressed.
I'm telling you right now, I'm probably going to do that tonight just for you, Leo. I already know. Thanks a lot for your time, all right?
Take care, my friend. Hey, Bucs win, but it's going to be close.
Well, you know what? You saved that. I will get you on Sunday. If you're available, we'll try to get you on Sunday on one of these pregame shows. We don't have to necessarily have you out there. We can always get you on video. All right, boss?
Whatever you want to do. Just let me know, Peter.
All right, there you go. Leo Haggerty, the legend himself. Thanks a lot for coming on The Evolution.
Take care, brother.
All right, there you go. So let's get him out of here. Again, update on the score. 3 minutes left. 7:22 left in the third period. Lightning over the Dallas Stars. Let's go out to Rick Hughes from the cheap seats. You're watching the game. I'm watching the game. Leo's watching the game. We'll see if the Lightning can pull this out. I expect to see Stamkos maybe in this game, but most likely the next game. And I think they have to have him in order to improve that power play. And because he's a captain, so I would watch for that storyline. You want to win this game tonight. You don't want to get down 2-0. But let's talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and that win yesterday. 31-17. Again, not the prettiest, but you get it done. And I think it always goes back for me, the defense. The defense has been so impressive. They were impressive the second half of the year, and they were impressive yesterday. 5 sacks, 4 turnovers caused against that Panther team, which, by the way, Bridgewater usually doesn't turn over the ball, but the Bucs defense made him.
You know what's great is watching. Sorry, that was bad timing. You know what's great is watching this defense do something completely different from game to game. I mean, and year to year. I mean, it was so radically just completely different. Didn't expect to see, when we came into this year, did you know half the year JPP was going to be in coverage? I mean, did you know they were going to drop Vita Vea into coverage? Did you know that? I mean, it's such a crazy year the way they're playing this defense. I don't think the other offenses have any idea what's going on. I mean, I think that's where the success is coming from. I just really think I've never seen a scheme like this. I don't know what you call it. I mean, it's so creative. It's so different. I don't know.
Yeah, it's so different. And who would have thought that, Shaq Barrett wouldn't even have a sack in 2 games, but I almost feel like he's due, especially versus his former team, Broncos. He's going to be extra motivated. You know that's on his mind. It's been on his mind since the schedule came out. So
and they're going to cut him loose.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. How many sacks do you think Mr. Barrett could have on Sunday versus?
I'd say give him 2.
2 sacks? Okay. Yeah.
2 sacks. I mean, you're going to have pressures too. I mean, this is because of injuries. Things are falling are falling in a positive way for the Buccaneers. You're going to have Driscoll back there. Now Driscoll can move a little bit, so it's not going to be that easy. I mean, this is not a guy who's just going to stand in the pocket. I mean, he'll move around a little. It's going to make sacks a little more difficult. But I this defense, who knows? I mean, you might get 2 out of Shaq, but you might get 2 out of Antoine Winfield. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, has that been the most impressing thing? Is the young rookie in Winfield? I mean, 11 tackles yesterday. He forces a fumble. He has a sack. I mean, he just stepped right in, and everybody talked about, the missed reps, and we've talked about that ad nauseum on this show, but here's a player that seemed like, ever since he's hit the ground running for this defense.
Yeah, I had no idea he was going to be this good. We didn't hear that much about him in camp. You didn't hear, raving. You heard, he's having a good camp, but you didn't hear raving about him. And now, I mean, starting with the first game, this guy, he's the real deal. I mean, he really is. It's like when they added Devin White. Yeah. All of a sudden you had this next piece, and great draft pick.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I'm just laughing at some of these text messages. I tell you what, let's go out to some of these webhead messages because I don't want to ignore them. Again, last check, it was 17 all Raiders and the Saints. So
I think it's 24-17 Raiders.
There you go. See, everybody thought I was crazy, Johnny.
I thought you were crazy.
Well, you know what? I said 31-17 for the Bucs. I said the Falcons will blow the lead. They'd be 0-2. I said the Panthers be 0-2. Guess what? I think I may go 4-0 this week. And
you're Kreskin, buddy. I don't know. You're Kreskin this week.
I look like Kreskin with this damn, I don't know what it is. I don't think it's a tan. I think I look red. People think I'm mad tonight. I came on mad. No, I just want too much sun once again. Somebody needs to give me some, what is it?
Sunscreen?
Yeah, there you go. Right there. I don't even know how to say it. I need to use it. That's probably what I need to do.
Yeah, if you're going to ask for it at the drugstore, you might as well know what it's called.
Right. I got the other stuff. Aloe. That stuff doesn't.
Yeah, there you go.
Makes it worse.
No, all that's supposed to do is help your skin once you're burned.
Yeah, well, it was already burned. It made me out like I'm 16 years old. I want to break out when I'm 16, so I'll deal with the pain. All right, $1 million fines handed out today over a mask. Wow, what's up, Big Outs? That's sitting, Nathan. But maybe it's just that Gronk is here to block. We'll get back to that in a moment. We should have signed some lineman depth than Gronk. Much has been made about Gronk and his lack of productivity. I mean, are we making too much of a big deal about this? Coach Arians talked about it today where he said, look, this is not an offense that's predicated on the tight ends. We're not going to throw 50 times.
Bothers me a little bit that he says that.
Okay.
You know, I mean, why do you have such great receiving tight ends? I mean, just go get blocking tight ends. You know, you could trade these guys and get good blocking tight ends. I mean, there are things you could do. I mean, if you're not going to throw to receiving tight ends, what are you doing? I mean, why are you paying Gronk $10 million? I mean, he looks slow. But listen, here's the thing. I'm sitting here complaining. We've directed this to, you know, where it's like, oh, no, there's a problem. They won the freaking game.
Right.
What they did was fine.
Right. But you're just kind of wondering if they're going to be able to play like this and continue to play like this. I mean, look, they had the interception yesterday. They had the fumble. So they had, once again, 2 turnovers. It wasn't the prettiest, especially in the second half. But again, this is
beautiful
of old Bucs ball.
It was beautiful. What do you mean it wasn't pretty? That was beautiful.
Well, Tristan,
I'm thrilled to death about it. That was a beautiful game. I mean, I don't need to see, you know, look, could it have been prettier? Sure, it could have been prettier. Let me tell you something. It's like when you're at a dance with a beautiful girl. Could she be prettier? Well, yeah, maybe she could be Giselle, but you know,
she could be a Mandrell sister.
Exactly, she could be a Mandrell.
I don't know who they are. I mean, it's before my time, but Al, he got all excited about it. He was telling his father
just a little bit.
Right?
He was a little,
and then he popped up out of nowhere. I mean, I haven't seen him in 2 weeks. Mandrell's sister with 4 of them, and he just pops out of nowhere. So there you go. And
I mean, here I am following, you know, I'm following 2 late. This is like it's 2 legends and an old guy tonight with you. I mean,
you've done your fair share. We're looking at this Lightning game, 159 left here, 3-2 Lightning in game 2. They need this. Let's go out to Mikey. We should have signed linemen in depth and Gronk. I mean, do you agree with that? Once again, linemen don't grow on trees. You're not going to get somebody you think is really that good. I mean, Jason Peters, yes, he got signed by the Eagles, but look how much money, Rick, he wanted to get paid as a left tackle. $8 million. You can't afford to pay that. Right. I'm sorry.
But if you could trade Cameron Brate and a first-round pick right now for a top quality of left tackle.
But where's the value? I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, is somebody going to take on Cameron Brate because he's been largely ineffective? He's been hurt the last couple years. I don't know what his value is.
Yeah.
I think you would have to trade a first-round pick in order to get a quality offensive
lineman. I said Cameron and a first-round pick.
Right.
That's what I said. Yeah, Cameron Brate and a first-round pick. I'm betting that you could do that. I mean, I'm watching the game here too. Well, I got a minute and 45 left on mine. I don't know what you got over there.
Let me turn my head there. God, I got
you got a minute left. You're in front of me.
I'm in front of you here, so just watch my screen. All right, let's go back out to the webheads question.
Hey, Peter, I want to point something out real quick about the game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, look, like Leo was saying, this is the second preseason game. Yes, it is. No, it's not. Okay, these bullets are real. Okay, you don't have the luxury of calling this a second preseason game. I know his point, but this is the real deal, and everybody else is in the same boat. The teams you're playing against had the same number of preseason games you did, 0. So I don't look at this like these are preseason games. These are real games. Everybody else has their, you know, they're in the same boat. They're struggling with the same things. So, I mean, do I understand? Yes. But you take a team like Philadelphia, for instance, and Wentz is struggling. They use that excuse for Wentz. They said, well, he didn't have OTAs. He didn't have the preseason games. He's been there for years with the same head coach for 5 years. Okay. Enough with the excuses. We're now in week 3. It's time to play. All right. No more excuses. No more OTAs. I don't want to hear about it anymore. I mean, we're far enough into the season now. Freaking play.
Yeah, no, I think you got it. You definitely got to play. And I'm looking at this offense, and I'm saying it's only going to get better, and it gets better this week because the news today was that Chris Godwin has passed all his concussion protocols. we watched those wide receivers. We kind of talked about the depth or lack thereof. Scotty Miller dropped a touchdown. Justin Watson dropped some passes, although he caught a long flea flicker.
Yeah.
But if Godwin is not in this offense, it's dramatically different. They're in somewhat trouble because these wide receivers have shown, a Sorrell Grayson hits him right in his helmet, can't catch the ball. You've got to have a Chris Godwin, and still you win that game yesterday, like Leo said, without a Godwin. So how important is he going to be to this offense?
Listen.
And then on top of it, have you kind of changed your mindset? Because what you were saying is, well, you drafted a Tyler Johnson. You feel like he'll develop. So do you really need to sign a Chris Godwin because you're already locked in with Mike Evans? Have you changed?
No, it's not that you don't need to. It's I don't know how you do it.
Okay.
I've never said you don't need to. I'm just saying, if you remember, the way that it was phrased by you was pick 2 of these guys and you named 5 guys. Okay. Now, I'm not willing to sacrifice any of the other guys that you mentioned.
I'm going to put you back on screen here because we're running down. We got an empty net chance here with the Lightning. I know we're talking Bucs football, but I think everybody right now is interested.
Oh, come on. It's the Stanley Cup final. Let's
We got
28 seconds. Okay. Here's the deal, Peter.
Yeah.
I think that the guy who proved himself most valuable on Sunday was Chris Godwin.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You could see him missing. You could see what happened. I mean, he wasn't even in the game and he had a great game. I mean, it really showed. It really did.
Yeah.
So, the guy didn't even play.
It's a Peyton Manning case of when Peyton Manning got injured, he injured his neck for the whole year.
Uh-huh.
And the Colts weren't the same. I don't even think they won the game, and they drafted Andrew Luck. That's how important Manning was to the Colts. I'm not saying Godwin is that important, but he definitely takes the pressure off of a Mike Evans because then you can't necessarily get that coverage towards an Evans. And if you're depending on a Scotty Miller and a Justin Watson, they're better 3, 4s, and 5s instead of 2s.
But what does it tell you if Grayson is in there
before?
Oh my gosh, my mind just went blank. The draft pick.
Tyler Johnson.
Tyler Johnson. Sorry,
we got 3 seconds left, so let me put it back on screen here. We'll see what happens.
Okay.
We'll
right I mean that to me. All right, this is a problem I have with something. I know Bruce Arians in a press conference, he's just saying stuff. Okay, but when he said that Grayson actually has great hands, that he couldn't believe he dropped it. He has great hands in practice. I don't freaking care. I do not care if he has great hands in practice. Good for you. You can catch a ball in practice. I'm so proud of you. I need you to catch the ball at Raymond James Stadium, not across the street. I don't care what you do across the street.
It's over. Tampa Bay Lightning have won 3-2 over the Dallas Stars in Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Final. Again, they held on. Now it's tied 1-1. So there you go. There's your Lightning update. Go ahead.
Awesome. They did that in I think they scored all their goals in 45 seconds.
Yeah. They came out like gangbusters tonight. It was a much better start and much better effort. I mean, you look that third period last game, even with them tired, you could see the momentum was on the side.
Well, the first half of the first period was all Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 45 seconds, they scored 3 goals, or, it was 2 minutes. They scored 3 goals. And then again, then it stopped. But I don't care. If they're going to score 2, all you need is 3. So, but back to what I was saying, it really ticks me off when Bruce Arians makes a comment like, "Oh, this guy's got great hands." No, he doesn't. He got hit in the helmet. Okay, I mean, if he had great hands, he didn't even get his hands on the ball.
Right.
I mean, great. You can catch the ball across the street. I'm happy for you. Catch him in the freaking game, And where was Tyler Johnson?
Well, Tyler Johnson has definitely been missing from this team, not only with the injury situation, but with all the missed reps. So he's behind the 8 ball. It's going to be interesting to see when he starts to get more comfortable and healthy, what type of impact he's going to have. Tell you what, I'm going to put you in the lobby because we got to go to a commercial break and we got Liam Mitchell on here. But
get some youth in there.
Absolutely. But we're going to get you back on here. We got Jacob Charnow coming on at 11:30, so we'll get you both on together. We'll talk about the NFL and more Bucs. Rick Hughes from the Cheap Seats. Really quick, promote your show that's on the on Bucs Report at 9 o'clock, usually, maybe a little bit late this week, but go ahead and tell everybody about From the Cheap Seats.
Yeah, we have a great time. Had a great show Sunday night. Going to have another one this Sunday. I may not be there this Sunday, but we may have a guest host. I am moving to Charlotte into some new studios. But this on Sunday nights, usually at 9 o'clock, but it will be after the post-game extravaganza that Peter has out at the Deck Bar and Grill while they're enjoying their wings and burgers. Right after that, we're going to have a great show for you. It's fantastic. We talk football right here in the cheap seats.
All right, good stuff. Let me get you out of here. We'll get you back on here with Jacob Charnow of Hard Count Football Podcast. Thanks for your time. Stand by, all right?
Yep.
All right, there you go. Let's go ahead and take a commercial break, and we'll be back with Liam Mitchell on the evolution of Sports Talk Television.
Power bill through the roof? At 320 Solar, that power bill will be no more. In fact, about 90% of our customers report lower solar payments than with electricity. That's more power in your pocket. 320 Solar. Power up. Going solar with 320 may cost you nothing down. But the work we do is not a $0 job. With a 10-year roof penetration warranty and solar panels guaranteed for 25 years, you can have peace of mind knowing you will do the job right every time without question. 320 Solar. Power up.
Come to Sam Ash for hundreds of exclusive holiday deals on music and sound gear from the most iconic brands. Save big on professional and starter guitars, drums, digital pianos, horns, violins, DJ, and electronic production equipment. Supercharge your home studio with deals on podcasting, streaming, and AV equipment like speakers, microphones, headphones, and acoustic treatment. Plus, with 36 months no interest financing on thousands of items, you can get the gear of your dreams right now. From our incredible selection and service to our lowest price guarantee for over 95 years, real musicians know you only go to Sam Ash.
All right, welcome back to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about, powered by 320solar.com. So let's go ahead and get him on. Mr. Liam Mitchell of Fan to Fan Network, correct? Can't hear you. Adam, not all right. Don't know if we're hearing him or not. No, I can't hear you. No sound. All right, let me go ahead and get him back in here. Let's see if we can work that. Can you hear me now? All right. I guess we're having some tech issues, so go ahead and log in, log out again, and we'll see what we can do. All right? Stand by. So I don't know what's going on, but we'll have Liam Mitchell on here once he gets his sound situation taken care of. He'll go ahead and log back in. We'll go back to Rick Hughes here really quick. Stand by, and then we'll get Liam Mitchell back on again. What's going on, buddy? How you doing? So once again, to update the night, the Lightning win 3-2 in Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Final. We're talking Bucs. We're talking around the NFL. Open phone line if you want to get on the phone line. We'll have Liam Mitchell, but right now we got Rick Hughes from the cheap seat. 727-255-0391 and 727-255-0391. Do we have an update on that Raiders score by chance?
24-17, but the Raiders are driving. That's the last I've got here.
Oh, there you go. So the Saints aren't playoff ready. What was your thought process on what Leo said? Do you feel that's true, that there's only 4 teams in the NFL that are playoff ready and the rest are just either the contenders or the pretenders?
Well, there are 4 that stand out above the others. I was laughing. It's so classic Leo when he says the good news is only 4 teams are playoff ready. I was laughing. That's so classic Leo. It's that's not good. but do I agree that there are teams that are it just seem like a class above the rest? Yes. And let me tell you something, New England still looks really good. Raiders just scored a touchdown.
So there you go. We got Johnny Dean on the line. We'll get out to Liam Mitchell here in a moment. But you want to tell me something, Johnny Dean? What's going on with the Raiders? Oh, hold on. Go ahead, Johnny Dean.
I called just to let you gloat and to say something to Rick, but you go ahead and gloat first.
Oh, no. The Raiders just scored again. So what are they up by 14 points now?
There you go.
So they're going to be 1-1. They're going to be tied with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. All the fans thought the sky was falling when they lost to the Saints.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Bucs have an opportunity to maybe take over first place because guess what, ladies and gentlemen? The Saints offense is in trouble.
Who do they play? Any idea who the Saints play next week?
The Raiders this year?
Huh?
Do we have to play the Raiders this year?
Yes, in Vegas.
Yes, we do.
Well, there you go, dude.
Cover your tight end. Cover that tight end in Waller. He's killing it, isn't he?
They had him covered, but Waller's just a baller.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And
Waller's a baller.
Waller is a baller, and John Gruden finds him off the Baltimore Ravens practice squad, makes something out of him. I'll give John Gruden credit. He could definitely find a tight end. Remember Ken Dilger he had, Ricky Dudley. Yeah. For so many years.
Well, you're going exactly what you're kind of proving my point,
right,
about the tight ends.
Exactly. He is kind of proving my point that playoff spot is looking a lot harder to get to, ain't it?
Well, I just don't understand why. I mean, when you have weapons like, why would you bring in receiving tight ends, or why would you have a roster full of receiving tight ends and then don't throw the ball to them? It's just odd.
Well, it may be what Leo said, and maybe you guys can comment on this, and I'll get you out of here. We'll get Liam Mitchell back on here of Fan to Fan.
Well, let me ask Rick something real quick.
Yeah, sure, go for it.
Rick, I get that the the whole practice thing isn't your deal, but if Arians had come out and said that, oh, we're putting a guy in that didn't have good hands in practice, and then it would be a big deal to you then, wouldn't it? So,
well, sure, you don't say that. I get it. That doesn't make sense, Johnny Dean. I mean, you're not going to say something like that. You're not going to say you're not going to say that, but you don't go out of your way to say this guy has great hands in practice. I mean, you just, as Peter would say, would you just shut up? I mean, it's just, I mean, seriously, to Arians, not you, Johnny Dean, to him,
I'm
to
making
Arians.
a bigger point here. I'm trying to make a bigger point here.
Okay.
And when you said something about, I don't want to hear about OTAs and this and that. Well, you know what? If we had more OTAs and we had the correct 400 snaps, they probably would have figured out that he wasn't the guy to put in there.
Same with every other team, though. And the other teams seem to be managing fine. The Cardinals are doing okay, aren't they?
There are more veteran-based teams who have been together longer than the Bucs have. And those teams might get away with not having those 400 reps. The Bucs can't afford that.
Okay, how many games into the season is it going to take for that to no longer count? When will they have enough reps?
100 reps per game. It's 100 reps per game. So you're talking about 4 games to make up for those 400 lost reps.
Okay, so you're saying 4 games and I'm saying now. It's not that big of a difference. Okay.
Well, it somewhat is kind of I mean, it takes some. If he's saying that, then it does kind of take. It does take a little bit. I mean,
well, you're still getting reps in practice. They're still doing the things that are necessary. It's not like they're sitting around not getting reps in the meantime.
Right.
I mean, you're only counting the reps in the games. Well, they would have had those 400 reps anyway. So, I mean, my whole point is this. My whole point is you're playing an NFL season. Stop it. Okay, you got excuses. There's always excuses. Okay, you don't have injuries. Other teams have injuries, and they're not whining. Okay, there comes a point where you step up and play football. And
I'm in all 32. I'm in groups for all 32 teams, and they are all whining.
Well, fans do. Fans do.
The sky is falling down because of the game yesterday.
Listen, man, fans are going to whine. I've said this before. If the Buccaneers are holding up the Lombardi Trophy, you're having that beautiful moment. Tom Brady's holding up the trophy. The confetti's coming down. Tom Brady's the MVP of the Super Bowl in Tampa, and somebody's going to say, well, they could have done it with Jameis. I mean, there's always going to be somebody whining. Mm-hmm. That's not even news.
That's my point. Keep telling everybody to quit whining about this or that, but they're going to, man. And they do. And this year, there is good reason for a lot of teams to whine. It's going to work out. There's 16 games to go, so by the 5th game, everybody's going to be firing on all cylinders. You just can't judge anything by the first 4 games right now.
No, you really can't. It's an early season, and once you get to week 8, then that's when you can start to make those determinations. So we'll see what happens.
I agree that you're going to get better as the season goes along. I think every team will get better as the season goes along. I mean, yes, veteran team. I agree with all of that, but at some point, we're in the midst of a football season. Step up.
Okay. All right. Good stuff, Johnny Dean. Thanks a lot for the call. We got to get out to Liam Mitchell here. Thanks a lot. Appreciate you. All right.
Later, bud.
Later. All right. So Raiders are winning. Let me put you back in the lobby. We'll bring you back with Jacob Scharr now because that's always a good segment. Thanks a lot. Hold on. All right. We'll hold off on the phone calls. Let's get out to Mr. Liam Mitchell. Do we got you now? We don't got you. No sound. Yeah. Yikes. I hate when that happens. I don't know. I mean, that's like when you want to reset your. So I'll tell you what we'll go ahead and do. Let's go ahead and try this really quick. And it's not working on your end. So can you hear me? All right. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll go ahead. We'll get you on Wednesday night. We'll try to see if we can get you on Wednesday night again, unless you want to try it again. But yeah, I can't understand. Unless you want to call in. If you want to call in, you can call in at the number 727-255-0391. We can get you on there. How about that? Okay, good stuff. All right, so we'll get him out of there, and we'll get his phone call, and we'll see what he thinks here. Sometimes that happens, so we just got to make adjustments. That's what we do here on the run. Let's go out to the webheads here, read some of these comments, and then hopefully we'll get him on. If we can't, then we'll go to our other guest and we'll get him on another night. That's what happens. All right. He's had 2 touchdown passes dropped. Jeez. Johnny Dean, Bucs found out just how important Godwin is to that offense. Nathan D was gassed in the 3rd. Thank you, Al. Exactly. Let's see. Amen. No doubt, Al. Some people just can't be happy. Guess it's easy to complain about the craziest things that it is. Dylan says, I'm so happy I wound up with the Bucs. It's just been an amazing 6 months for my family being here and getting to the work. I'll probably never be a free agent again. Brady on Westwood 1 tonight. So let's go back to those comments. I'm so happy I wound up with the Bucs. It's just been an amazing 6 months for my family being here and getting to work. I'll probably never be a free agent again. Good stuff from Tom Brady on Westwood 1 tonight. I believe, I'm trying to think of who interviews him, but also did the decision with LeBron James. I can't think of the guy's name now. Amen, brother. He usually interviews Brady. He's got a good relationship. 14 points left off the board. If those catches were made, I doubt people would be so dissatisfied here. Give Fournette the rock. Let's see. 35 to 41 throws means the D needs to work on that defensive line. Okay, no problem, Liam. Definitely call in if you want to. We can get you on. Keck is right. The final score is what really matters. Nathan, let's get a run game. Jimmy, it's week 2. They won. We're going to be just fine. Nathan says, give Fournette the rock again. The part about the Broncos that worries me, backup quarterbacks have historically killed us for some reason. And Sue, Vea disappearing, laughed my ass off. Did you watch the game? Jimmy says, the team is still gelling. We can get the work in and get better every week. Relax. Good stuff, Jimmy. Nathan, timing is everything. Al's mullet. Christopher Cole, I have a question. Do you all think the NFL should change the kickoff rules? The most boring play in football. I agree with you. I think it's the worst rule in football. They need to change it back because it's taken the kick return out of the game completely. I would like to see them go to the AAF version. Anytime they're going to be awesome. 24-17 now. The Raiders, once again, 31-17 last check. Thank you, Leo Haggerty. Anwar, where was that pressure versus Breeze and the Saints? That's what Leo is talking about. I get that, but once again, the Saints are paid money too. They have one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. They have to work on it. They have to get better next time in that matchup. That's where LVD and Shaq earn their money. Johnny Dean, you should go into the Chiefs group. The sky is falling and they're doomed according to them. I picked Arizona early. Peter H. Blake didn't like that choice. I'm still worried about it. Definitely shout out to 320solar.com. Stay safe, Leo Haggerty. That 83 for the Raiders ain't no joke. That would be Mr. Waller. Waller's having a great game. Hey, Rick, says Taylor Allen. Hell yes, Rick. It was beautiful. David says Andres Pete just got hurt. Uh-oh. This is the Rock of Ages episode of the Sports Web. Raiders with a stop. Cam Jordan called for a horse collar. Couldn't happen to a better player. Love it. Lightning win. Hello, Bucs family. Bring that passion. Johnny Dean guest from ancient to infant tonight. 31-17 says Fred. 31-17 Raiders. Music to my ears. I love it. Raiders 31 now. Saints play the Packers next week. By the way, I do a pool. What was the point total that I had to win by tonight? 53. Saints just scored 31-24. All right, there you go. Saints just scored. And let's see. Kamara has 5 touchdowns in 2 games. Wow. He's been tremendous. He is a tremendous player. So let's go back out to well, the problem is we can't go to Liam Mitchell because he's got no sound. So I can't go out to him. So I tell you what, let's go out to Rick Hughes again, and let's go out to Jacob Scharr now. And we're talking about this game right now, guys. Welcome to the evolution. Of course, Jacob Scharr now, the 16-year-old prodigy. I believe this is Liam Mitchell. So let's get all 4 of us on here on the evolution. Of course, the Hard Count Football Podcast. Is this Liam Mitchell?
Yes, it is, man.
Welcome. A part of the Fan to Fan Network. You've got Jacob Scharr now, who's 16. a prodigy of the Hard Count Football podcast, also on YouTube. And you got Rick Hughes from the Cheap Seats, a new show here on Sunday nights at 9 o'clock. Guys, watching this Tampa Bay Buccaneer team, I'm going to go one by one. First with you, Liam. What are the good things that you saw from this team besides the obvious, the win? And what are the bad things that you're concerned about with this team going forward?
The things I loved the defense again. I thought they played phenomenally. Antoine Winfield, man, really stepped up. Reminded me of a little Rondé Barber out there, man, getting in the backfield, creating some plays, making some sacks. Big, good to see Leonard Fournette step up. Thought he had a big game, obviously. And then it was good to see Tom Brady and Mike Evans kind of get a little more chemistry going. I liked what I saw out of that. And then as far as what concerned me, obviously the drops were ridiculous. That kind of stuff shouldn't be happening. They're professionals.
Right.
This should not be happening. And I don't know. I still think I was kind of disappointed in the offense yet again. I thought Carolina's got a bottom 5 defense in the NFL. They got a bunch of rookies. They lost half their starters. Again, I know it's going to take a little bit of time here, but we better get it going now because it's week 3. And I mean, seriously, it's time to get going because not moving the ball at all in the second half against a defense like Carolina shouldn't be happening. We should be having our way.
You agree with that, Jacob Scharr? Now, I mean, they don't move the ball in the second half. They have a difficult time. Tom Brady has a difficult time. It certainly seemed like the Panthers did everything they could to make adjustments, and then on top of it, the Bucs helped them out with 2 turnovers in that second half.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I agree with Liam. I think the Panthers have a bottom 5 defense, if not worse, possibly bottom 3. I am very critical of that Panthers defense. I think that, we saw Leonard Fournette absolutely go off. I think that he's probably the lead back now in Tampa. And I don't really understand why everyone was hating on Leonard Fournette when Jacksonville released him, because I mean, the man, he had 1,100 rushing, he had over 1,100 rushing yards last year. He really didn't have a down year last year at all. In fact, he went up from the previous season. So I really like that there. I liked how we saw Mike Evans. I saw like the Brady Evans connection that we saw. I kind of wish Scotty Miller did some more in that game, purely because I think that he's a very, very talented receiver that with Godwin out, he had a chance to really step up and he kind of missed his opportunity there. Again, the defense, you're going to give up stuff to Christian McCaffrey. I mean, he's the best running back in the NFL. You hold him to 2 touchdowns. I think it was like 54 yards in total for McCaffrey, or 59 yards. I think they did pretty well. And I mean, obviously you could have helped out in the passing game a little bit. Those corners aren't the best position on that defense. Obviously you have a great linebacker core, pretty good defensive line. I'm not really worried about this game too much in terms of the Buccaneers. I think that, everyone kind of expected them to go in and beat Carolina. 31-17 was kind of the score that I was expecting, high scoring for the Bucs, and, kind of in the middle for the Panthers, because the Panthers do have a very underrated offense. I mean, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, and Curtis Samuel are all really good options. Teddy Bridgewater didn't have the best game. He was 33 for 42, 367 passing yards, no touchdowns with 2 interceptions. I think if Teddy Bridgewater had maybe found the end zone a little bit more with his receivers, and we could have been having a different conversation. But I think we need to see the Bucs play another really good team that isn't the Carolina Panthers before we start judging their defense and then their offense as well when they play a better defense than Carolina.
Let me go out to Rick Hughes. Is that fair assessment by the young man there?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they have to play. Look, they played the Saints. They played well defensively. They played the Panthers. The Panthers are not a good team. So do we have to wait on this defense, or are you believing in it? What are the good things you saw from this team yesterday, and what are some of the concerns that you have going forward with the Bucs, Rick?
Well, addressing what Jacob just said, you're correct. But here's the thing: even if they beat Denver, then everybody's going to say, "Well, it was Driscoll." I mean, there's always there. So, all right, so you still haven't proven anything. You could be 2-1, you could be leading the division, and everybody's going to say, "Well, I don't know." So. I mean, what are the good things that I saw? Improvement, period. You saw solid improvement from them. This was a much better game than game 1. And if you see a much better game in game 3, then you know what, that's really all you can ask for. And by the time you get to games, 5, 6, 7, you're going to have a really tough team to beat. So I mean, that's the thing that I'm happiest with. Thing I'm most concerned with, man. I don't understand why this offense. It should be more productive than it is. Now I know that they're new together. Some of them are new together. I mean, the quarterback is new. That's a big deal. But you see rookie quarterbacks sometimes coming in and performing better. There are so many weapons that now, granted, if LaShawn McCoy catches the pass, if Scotty Miller catches the pass, you're looking at a game that's 45-17 and nobody says a word. So I'm not really concerned. I just don't want to see the mistakes, the little mistakes, the lack of discipline. Those are the things that if there's anything to be concerned about, it's that. Stop jumping off sides. There are things like that.
Right.
That's pretty much it.
I mean, and Liam, you look at this situation, there's been 4 turnovers in 2 games. Of course, what you were talking about last week with Tom Brady with the 2 interceptions, this week only 1, but a fumble by Ronald Jones. I mean, to me, eventually, if Ronald Jones doesn't, if he isn't more productive, you feel like they're most likely going to make the switch to a Fournette, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think after last week, it's apparent that Fournette's the better back, and don't waste any time. We don't have any time to waste.
Right.
I mean, it's production. Production is most important thing, and whoever's producing more, I mean, they need to play. So I kind of consider the Bucs lucky right now that we're playing this early schedule we have with Denver and the Chargers and Chicago. I think this is kind of an easier portion of our schedule, and we're kind of lucky we take advantage of this time right now. If we're gonna, if we need the time to gel this offense and make our strides, well, now I consider ourselves lucky that we're playing such a weaker part of our schedule early on.
How impressed were you, Liam, with the defense yesterday, causing or having 5 sacks and causing 4 turnovers?
I was pretty impressed. I was most impressed with the fact that we were able to shut down Christian McCaffrey again. I mean, that was, to me, the biggest key to victory there, because he's obviously the best running back in the NFL. But, I was impressed, and I hope to continue to see that throughout next week. No Drew Lock, no Cortland Sutton, no Phillip Lindsay. I hope we can continue it. And, I do think it's going to be a test when we play a better offense, say, I don't know, Green Bay, week 6. We'll see a real test there with Aaron Rodgers. So I just hope we can continue to play like that. Because if you play like that on defense, our defense is so fast at getting to the edge. It's going to be so hard to run outside on us. I really hope they can continue to play like that.
Yeah, I mean, let's go to you, Jacob Shar, now. Of course, the 16-year-old prodigy for How Hard Count Football podcast on YouTube does a great job here, and I'm glad to have him on the Sports Web. We talk about this defense. You kind of mentioned something. They play a better team. But really, this defense has been they've been on a track here with a trajectory where they played a lot better than they did the first half of last year. And I think the great thing about it, and Liam mentions it, is that the fact that they have an easier schedule than they had last year. You're not really facing great quarterbacks the early part of this schedule, right?
Yeah, I mean, take a look at it. I mean, like Rick said, next week you guys got Denver, I think. Denver, Jeff Driscoll we'll see what happens with Jeff Driscoll. He kind of lit up the Steelers defense, who is, they're a top 5, maybe even higher in the league right now. I didn't like what the Steelers defense did. I don't like how it came down to that final second where it was just kind of a missed block by the Broncos and led to a sack. But you guys got Jeff Driscoll next week. You guys, I don't know who's going to be starting for the Chargers. It could be Tyrod Taylor, which is what it sounds like Anthony Lynn is doing, which I don't understand at all. Justin Herbert went in there and lit it up and took the reigning Super Bowl champions to overtime, and Tyrod Taylor just escaped the Bengals because of a missed field goal by Randy Bullock that he pulled his calf on or whatever. But if this Bucs defense does not dominate in the next couple of games, then we'll start having that conversation about what's going on. But they finished with the best run stop in the entire NFL last year. If they really start giving up a lot of points to these teams that aren't necessarily that good or are subpar to them, at least, then yeah, like I said, we could start having that conversation. But for now, I'm not really worried about this Bucs defense because, like Liam said, stopped Christian McCaffrey for the most part. I mean, those 2 touchdowns, those were in the red zone already. There was really much. Those balls were going to end up in the end zone no matter who it was. So I'm not really worried about the Bucs defense right now. I think that, you look Shaq Barrett, Vita Vea, JPP. These are guys who are really good and the good run stop. If those corners need to kind of step up a little bit, though obviously great linebackers, Levante David and Devin White, who I love Devin White. I watched him last week and the week before. Absolutely love him. Love the way he plays. I think he's going to be very, very good in the NFL. But I'll stop there. That is, I am not worried about the Buccaneers defense.
And of course, they got a challenge this week because you got Jeff Driscoll, Rick Hughes, who's the backup quarterback. And
by the way, update: the Raiders just kicked a field goal. They're 34-24 with 1 minute left.
There you go. I think that's unless they're the Falcons defense, I think they're pretty good. So with that being said, the Bucs do have a challenge this week. Yes, the Broncos are going to be without Drew Lock and Courtland Sutton, but they still have a Melvin Gordon.
Right.
I think this defense can once again hold Gordon down from 100 yards because
I'm not worried about a running back. I don't care who it is. I don't care what team it is. No, there's not a running back in the league that concerns me big time at this point. They've proven. At what point do you say that this defense has proven itself against running backs? This is the second year in a row they've done this. So I'm not concerned about that. Am I concerned about Driscoll? Look, I'm really not concerned about the defense as much as I'm concerned about the offense. I mean, Denver's got a heck of a defense. So, if they don't show up on offense, I know Johnny Dean says you got to wait till week 4. I hear you, but I want to see continued improvement. I really want to see continued improvement. I mean, that's a key here. This is a pretty important thing. If they're not progressing, that's a problem. Now they look like they progressed so far, so I'm happy. I got nothing to be concerned about. Everything's on track. And that's the big thing that people need to realize. Everything's on track. Nothing's perfect. I hear you. Okay. But if you said at this point, they're going to be 1-1, they're going to be markedly better in the second game, and now they're heading into Denver, which, by the way, cool fact, they're going to be in their pewter uniforms for the first time.
Wow.
So that's kind of cool. They're going to be in their all pewter uniforms this week, so that's kind of exciting.
All right, so Liam, you like the pewter uniforms? I know it's off subject, but you like the pewter uniforms, or you like the red and the white?
I do. I love the pewter uniforms, man. Really just a Shaq Barrett pewter jersey. So
nice.
Should be coming in the mail pretty soon. I totally forgot we were wearing those this week. So
yeah,
I'm actually excited to see them.
Yeah,
hey, Peter. Friday night show. Everybody wear pewter.
All right. Well, I tell you what, I may wear pewter on Sunday live at the deck.
There you go.
Pre-half and post-game edition of the Sports Web, the evolution of sports talk television, powered by 320solar.com. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Rick Hughes from the Cheap Seats, Jacob Charnow of Hard Count Football Podcast, and of course, Mr. Liam Mitchell of Fan to Fan Network. Liam, tell us about Fan to Fan Network and what you're doing there on YouTube.
Yeah, guys, come check out my YouTube channel. I post a ton of highlights there, post-game, pre-game reviews. And then over at Fan to Fan Network, I'm a conglomerate of a bunch of different YouTubers, one from each NFL team. We do head-to-head live streams before every game on Sunday mornings. We do them on Monday night. So tonight was like the Raiders and Saints guy going head-to-head. And then we do them on Thursday night as well. It's just fans going at it, giving their honest 2 cents on our teams. So it's a lot of fun. Go check it out. And then go check out the website at fantofannetwork.com. Post articles there. And I'm also looking to see if I can get a writer for myself on Fan to Fan Network and maybe a partner for me on YouTube. So it's just not me talking on there.
Yeah, I mean, because sometimes that can be tough to talk to yourself, especially people think you're kind of crazy if you do that a lot. Definitely don't be like me or be like me, because sometimes you don't have a guest, and that's okay. Let's go out to Tristan here. I agree. I disagree. I got into a shouting match with him last week. That's always a good thing to do with some of you fans. Weapons isn't an honest assessment. Just maybe the forcing of balls last year led to the production of these receivers. Brady doesn't take those chances. Is he on to something? I mean, I feel like Evans and Godwin are definitely top wide receivers in this league, but because the ball was being thrown so much and they were producing so much, maybe we have them overrated a little bit, Liam, or you don't buy that?
I don't buy that.
Okay.
They're not overrated. I absolutely believe they're two of the best receivers in the NFL. Chris Godwin, that guy, man, is unbelievable. He reminds me so much of Anquan Bolden and Terrell Owens. As far as after the catch, go watch Anquan Bolden run. It reminds me so much of that guy, and I don't believe that at all. I think they're the best receiving duo in the NFL, fully healthy. Chris Godwin's coming back this week. I think they're going to have a big day. I'm confident.
All right.
Say it. I'm confident. They better.
You're confident. How confident are you? You think Brady finally gets over that 300-yard mark?
I do. I'm going to say, I'm going to say 350 and 3 touchdowns.
Wow. 53 touchdowns in Denver. Yeah. Remember now, Liam, he's always had a problem with playing in Denver. So this is not. So.
But the Bucs have only ever won one time in Denver, 1993. Figure it out, boys.
Yeah.
That's promising.
Figure it out quick.
I remember that game. I definitely remember that game. That was kind of a somewhat of a turning point, I think, that season, or I don't know, maybe not 93. Was it 93? That wasn't a turning point. That wasn't a good season there.
Yeah.
I'm confused.
Yeah.
No, they started later than that. I think it was like 95, 96 is when everything turned around.
Yeah, I thought that was the game that they turned it, but I'm thinking of the Chargers game.
Yeah.
That's what happens with old age. Sorry about that, Liam. All right, let's go out to Jacob here. Is there some, overrating of these wide receivers in your opinion? That's what Tristan says. Because of throwing so much, that's the reason why these receivers were so productive, or you don't buy that either?
I don't buy that either. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, I mean, forget how many times they threw the ball. Just look at what they did when the ball was thrown to them. And you look at Mike Evans. Mike Evans is a man. Like there is the man, he can catch anything that is thrown to him. I mean, you just watch him play and you see how good he is. That's all I can say about that. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin also, like you said, I also agree. He kind of does look like Anquan Bolden. I forgot about him. That's like way early in my time, and I know that's like not even that long ago, but still. Anquan Bolden was fantastic. Chris Godwin, I love him as a deep threat. I know he lines up in the slot a lot, but he's fast, he's versatile, he can do a lot after the catch. I don't think that it's because of how many times they threw the ball. I think these are two top 10 receivers in the NFL.
I mean, at the end of the day here, Rick, they still have to catch the damn ball. I mean, these weapons overrated by the Bucs, or once again, it goes back to what we've talked about with the late start and with Brady trying to understand this confusing offense, which has made a lot of quarterbacks throw more receptions. That's the reason.
Look,
are we overrated?
No. Holy crap. Jacob is smart. Okay. I mean, here's the thing. If you didn't have the pass interference calls in the first game, what would Brady's yardage have been? Okay. I mean, they were hanging all over the receivers for a reason.
Sure.
Okay. It's not just the receivers either. He was saying, Tristan just brought up the weapons, are the weapons overrated? Who are you going to say is overrated? Fournette? Look what he just did. Who are you going to say is overrated? I mean, it's not like Shady didn't have a good game. He did. He missed one pass. He catches that pass. Look, what do you think of the discussion then? Yeah. Okay. I mean, who are you going to say is overrated? You going to say Brady's overrated? I dare you. 9 Super Bowls, 6 wins. How many MVPs? I mean, there's no way you can look somebody in the eye with any kind of intelligence.
I think we got a glitch there. So hold on a sec here. We'll be right.
I'm good. So, I mean,
yeah, I can hear you too. So we're good.
All right, perfect. I mean, listen, if you guys don't like Tristan, you don't like the Bucs receivers and you don't like their weapons, please send them over to New York. We are desperate. we are desperate for anything right now. Please. Oh, yeah.
Well, you're desperate for a head coach. I mean, I told you.
Oh my God, yeah.
I know you're a fan, but that's dead man walking. I don't know who's worse, Adam Gase or Dan Quinn.
Dan Quinn. I'll answer that question. The Jets aren't blowing 20-point leads consistently. I'll answer that question.
The Jets can't get a 20-point lead consistently. Jets, I can't. There's something interesting that I obviously probably most of the people watching this are from Tampa, but On Thursday at 1 p.m., I saw something going around Instagram today, around Jets Twitter, Jets Instagrams, that they're doing at One Jets Drive in Florham Park, which is the Jets training facility, a fire Adam Gase protest. So, so that is, I can't attend that because I have school duties and I have things to do, but I support the cause.
So, Lee, do you support that cause? Fire Adam Gase or fire Dan Quinn? Who gets fired first, in your opinion?
Gase.
Absolutely. I'm going with Gase, 100%.
That's what I'm saying. Gase, not Quinn. I mean, yes, he's blown leads, but you know.
Here's the deal. You're right. Just because Arthur Blank doesn't fire anybody during a season, so yeah, Gase may be gone. I think that may happen first. Listen, this is we're sitting here saying who's worse. I mean, it's come on. This is what do you want? Gonorrhea or syphilis? I mean, come on. What an argument.
Oh, that's great. All right, let's go. I don't even know where to go from that. Lack of on-field production was evident. They cannot find the big play outside of a trick play by Hill or Kamara using skills, which he's saying about the Saints. I agree with that. This season is huge for Godwin. I truly believe he is not a top 5 guy.
Oh,
just
Tristan,
college,
go away.
College production now, guys. I mean,
I'm about to go off and drop a BS on Tristan. I mean, come on, man. Come on. To say that Godwin, who had what was his catch percentage? 99% or something insane. He had the highest percentage of when the ball was thrown to him, catching it of any receiver in the NFL. What do you want, Tristan?
I don't know what Tristan wants. I know Tristan. It seems like Tristan's a big time Bucs fan, but I don't know what he wants. I guess there's some Bucs fans that want to go with the Tyler Johnson or Scotty Miller or Justin Watson. Why even? Let's not get to that point.
There are people to criticize.
Right.
Godwin's not one of them.
Right.
I mean, it's just not. It's silly to make it to be looking at Godwin and saying anything negative. Come on, there are people you can say things that are, you can be critical of Donovan Smith. No problem. I'll join you. Okay, there are plenty of times you want to be critical about Vita Vea jumping off offsides. I'll join you. Okay, you want to talk about the special teams? You want to talk about Mickens? I'll join you. Chris Godwin is who you're choosing to be critical of? What the heck? Come on, man.
And he also says Evans is on par for what he does. What he does is
he's amazing. He's on par for being amazing. Like that's I don't know. I think that's Tristan, the first time. That's the first time I've ever heard anybody be critical of Chris Godwin. Ever.
Right.
Like I don't know.
Liam, that's kind of ridiculous, right? Being critical of a Chris Godwin.
Oh, that's ridiculous. Like Rick said, his catch percentage, 96, 97%. Enough said.
Yeah.
That's enough said.
All right.
Come on, man.
We've kind of talked about Donovan Smith. Me and Rick have talked about this ad nauseum. Liam, what's your thoughts on a Donovan Smith? He played better versus the Panthers, but you got to see more out of him, right? Until you're, not wondering if he should play in this league anymore, because there are times, my friend, where he looks like a turnstile, and it's not good.
Oh, yeah. It's not good. Sometimes I just sit there and I look at him and I'm like, is his head in the game? I mean, does he even care? Sometimes I wonder, do we switch him to right tackle? What can we try to get something for him? I don't know. Sometimes I just sit there and like I said, I just look at him like, I just don't know if this guy even cares.
To say that he played better, it's impossible not to.
Right. Against the Panthers, who are depleted, and still there's moments there, Rick and Jacob, where he looks lost in the sauce. So I look at Tristan Wirfs, and it's almost like Wirfs has been in the league as long as Donovan Smith, and Smith is the rookie.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I love Tristan Wirfs actually. Tristan Wirfs was I think my second highest graded tackle coming into the draft, second to Andrew Thomas, but Donovan Smith. I'm not even a Bucs fan. I don't just watch the Bucs games. I watch Red Zone, and for the plays that I've seen, Donovan Smith has been terrible. And enough that I would notice it. And I don't notice like, oh wow, that random offensive lineman has been bad. He's been terrible. Yeah. Like can you guys explain to me exactly like what's going on with him? Because I don't know if you guys even know, but like why is he so bad now?
Yeah, I can explain. I can explain. He has no talent. Okay. Everybody says he doesn't have heart. I don't think that's the truth. I think you're seeing the guy give everything he's got. It's just this is all he's got. I mean,
Trash.
we can't. I mean, he's just bad. And then you sit there and say, I mean, they've got him signed to this contract. You're stuck with him. So I mean, what do you do? I mean, everyone doesn't have heart. Why do you say that? How do you know that? You've never spoken to the guy. You don't know his passion. You don't know his heart. You have no idea. But you have seen year after year bad performance. So I think he may have heart, but he has no talent.
Well, I think he has some talent, but once again, there are times where, again, the coach says it, he falls back into this bad technique, and he's got to stop doing it, or most likely he's going to lose his job. Liam, how much longer we got you on here? Because I know we had you on here for a little bit. How much longer we got?
I could probably go for about 5 more minutes.
All right, we'll go 5 more minutes with you here. Let's go around the NFL. I was asking Leo before, what is your biggest surprise, Liam, and what is your biggest disappointment so far?
Oh, tough question. Biggest surprise. I'm pretty, man. Geez, that's a tough question. I'm only thinking Bucs ball here, but the Vikings being 0-2, I'm pretty surprised by that. They have looked awful.
Yep.
For a couple weeks, they have just looked really, really bad. Pretty surprised that the Eagles as well. They don't look good at all, man.
Nope.
I don't know what the problem is down there, but it doesn't seem like they have anything going. I mean, those are probably my 2 biggest surprises. And then, man, all these injuries. Crazy. All these injuries around the league. I just hope that we don't get hit by the injury bug, because so far we've been pretty lucky.
With all these injuries, Liam, do you feel like the NFL should have started a little bit later to give their players some time now? Looking back, I know hindsight is 20/20, but it's not a good situation when you have players like a Nick Bosa, a Solomon Thomas, Christian McCaffrey being hurt, a Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, these are superstars that you want to see play for their teams, and now most likely they're out for the year.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. It's tough because I don't really know if it would have made a difference. I mean, I get it. These guys may have needed a little more time to get their bodies ready, but yeah, there's injuries every year, man. A lot. I know it seems a little bit heavy these first couple of weeks than usual, but it's tough to say. I really don't know if that would have made a big difference. Because it's football, man. Injuries happen.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
It's a violent game, so I really don't know if that would make a difference.
All right, Liam, I tell you what, I'm going to get you out of here, and then we'll get back to the guys here. Go ahead and promote yourself with Fan to Fan Network. Tell everybody about it, and hopefully we can get one of those highlight videos again to pump everybody up here on
I got to get another one of those posted, man. I'll get one going here pretty soon.
Sounds good. These
next couple of games. But yeah, come check me out on YouTube, guys, at Liam Mitchell, and then on Fan to Fan Network. You can go check out the site, and then go check it out on YouTube. We live stream all our games. I'll be doing a head-to-head matchup with the Broncos guy on Sunday morning. Come check us out. And I just want to apologize to you, Peter, for the audio problems I was having earlier. I have no idea what happened.
That's all right. We call a little audible here. I'll be like Tom Brady calling audible to the run. We got you on here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television, powered by 320solar.com. Thanks a lot for your time. All right.
Love it. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a great night.
All right, there you go. So, hey, we make it work. We'll make it work. I got to go out to Tristan Wirfs, or not Tristan Wirfs, Tristan Gray. I wish it was Tristan Wirfs. I stand by my Godwin assessment, Alvin Harper 2.0. We'll get back to that in a moment. Jacob, your biggest surprise, your biggest disappointment early.
So my biggest surprise is the New England Patriots, because I did not think Cam and Belichick were going to work. I think they were the most opposite people in the world coming into this season. And not only has it worked, but it's thrived. And I was not expecting that. I was very wrong about my take on that. And then my biggest disappointment, another take I was very, very wrong on. And I don't have shame admitting that I was wrong about the Philadelphia Eagles. I thought the Eagles were going to come into this year, win the division quite easily. I thought Carson Wentz was better than Dak Prescott. I thought he was going to take this team back to the playoffs. It does not look like that. They have been so ridiculously disappointing with injuries to Andre Dillard and Brandon Brooks that hurt a lot more than I thought it would. That offensive line looked terrible in Week 1 against Washington. And while they didn't give up a sack on Sunday to the Rams. That offense just looked bad. Carson Wentz did not look good, and that defense. Oh God, you trade for Darius Slay, but somehow your defense is still awful. And I think that you try to solve a problem with one piece. And okay, your one cornerback is good, but the rest of your defense is terrible. So yeah, by far my biggest disappointment was the Philadelphia Eagles.
Philadelphia Eagles. All right, let's go out to Rick here. Your biggest surprise, biggest disappointment early in this NFL season?
Surprise, probably the Patriots.
I think that's the biggest shock for me. Cam Newton is finally healthy, and it looks like a totally different offense.
Yeah, but I again, this is now teams are getting film on this offense. Give it a little while. Let's see what happens. Sort of like when a rookie comes in and you don't know what to expect. I think that's what's happened with New England's offense. Give it a little bit and let's see what happens as teams are able to adjust and learn what's happening. Biggest disappointment, Falcons or Vikings, take your pick. I mean, that's either one. It's just the Vikings, they're bad. I mean, they're really bad.
Well,
I didn't see that coming. You did.
I did. I said the Vikings were going to be bad. I said the Texans were going to be bad. And the reason why the Vikings are bad is because, first and foremost, Kirk Cousins is overrated. He's making way too much money. Yeah. He's not able to make plays. You get rid of Stephon Diggs, which doesn't help your offense. You really don't get a top wide receiver besides an Adam Thielen. He's not getting it done. Not only that, now you don't have the time with the Jefferson, who you draft out of LSU, so he's not able to develop. And then furthermore, your bread and butter is your defense, and all you saw this offseason was the Vikings getting rid of components on that defense. To me, they're rebuilding. They're in big trouble. And the Atlanta Falcons, they're not a surprise to me. They're terrible. They were lucky. Dan Quinn was lucky. The only reason why he kept his job is because that defense turned around somewhat with Raheem Morrison. Now you see, once again, them off to a bad start, and the draft selections in that back end were very questionable at best. They lost Desmond Trufant, who is nothing to write home about, but he's a lot better than what you have now. Let's go out.
Surprised, by the way. I'm not surprised by the Cardinals. I called that one. I got one thing right. I've gotten so many freaking things wrong this year. I got that one.
Well, I tell you right now, here's another guy that said the Cardinals are going to be good, and so far, so good. Johnny Dean, the professor, you're on with yours truly, along with Brick Hughes from the Cheap Seats, Jacob Charnow of Hard Count Football Podcast, 16-year-old prodigy here on the Evolution, powered by 320solar.com. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I'm with Rick with the Cardinals thing, but I am going to say it's a surprise because not because it's a surprise to me, but for the league. The Cardinals and the Rams in the same division. Look at that, man.
The Rams, to me, are surprised because, look, here's a team that gets rid of Todd Gurley. Look, I get it. You got Aaron Donald. But you've had a kind of a mass exodus, if you will, of some players. You know, Aqib Talib not a part of it anymore. I get it. He was older, but he's a veteran presence. I mean, they've kind of turned a different direction. Get rid of Cooks, but I don't know.
Peter, they're the Falcons on the West Coast. They're they're either really good or really bad every year.
The problem with the Falcons and the Rams is the Rams actually have defensive players like an Aaron Donald, who's the best in the game. Falcons don't have that. They've been searching.
Their defensive line has been pretty good if you've watched the games. Their defensive line has actually been good. It's the only thing that's good on that team.
What you would say, the Falcons or the Rams?
Yeah, the Falcons.
Okay.
The Falcons' defensive line has been good. Julio Jones dropping big passes, things like that you didn't expect.
He's had 2 catches for 24 yards and no touchdowns. And there's something like a streak out there where he's not scoring touchdowns anymore. The other guy in Ridley. So they've got to figure out that situation and how to get the ball to Julio Jones. If not, you don't have an offense. Johnny Dean, you said Arizona with Kyler Murray. You think he can keep this up with the DeAndre Hopkins?
He appears to be able to. I like the way they game planning, and it's they kind of use him like Seattle does, but can't with
Russell Wilson, who to me is the MVP right now. Do we all agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Russell Wilson, in my opinion, is the best quarterback in the NFL. 9
touchdowns right now, Johnny Dean. I mean, he's just throwing it all over the place. He's been tremendous.
Best quarterback in the NFL?
MVP, yeah. I won't call MVP until mid-season.
Okay.
Right. I'm
other quarterbacks out there that are falling out, man.
Right.
His name, Josh, whatever his name is, that got 400
Josh Allen,
yards
yep.
this weekend.
Yeah.
Yards,
Yep.
yeah, that's been a surprise, but that was the kind of the big thing for me is could he develop that relationship with the Stephon Diggs this week against the Miami Dolphins? 417 passing yards. Diggs had a big game, so Buffalo is going in the right direction, and of course they've always had that defense. So now they have offense. They have Josh Allen developing right before our eyes with a number 1 wide receiver, which makes John Brown a number 2, which is what he needs to be instead of a number 1. That makes your offense more potent. So I like what Buffalo is doing early in this time.
Yeah.
Go back to the overrated. I mean, Tristan tonight saying Chris Godwin, Mike Evans may be overrated, or maybe Bucs fans are overrating those wide receivers. Is that fair or is that nonsense?
That is nonsense, pure and unadulterated. And saying Mike Evans is good for what he does. What is he talking about?
He's on par for what he does. And did you see his latest comment?
Let's see. Trubisky grip is the biggest.
He's fine with Trubisky, but he thinks Godwin and Evans are. I mean, oh my God,
Come on,
Tristan.
You got it.
Crack kills, man.
I think Tristan is trying to play a game with us tonight. He's trolling.
I mean, stay off the meth pipe, man.
Trubisky is playing well, but the defense is even better with Khalil Mack. That defense has always been there. If they can have some sort of offense, I think they can definitely give some teams trouble, especially with the Bucs having them on the schedule on the Thursday night game. You kind of wonder what the effects of that will be, but I don't know.
That's another surprise to me. Hold on. The Bears and Khalil Mack. I've always been a big Khalil Mack supporter, and I still am. But I'm getting tired of just Khalil Mack. That defense, that entire defense is pretty damn good.
Yes, absolutely.
The rest of those guys are getting the friend zone treatment, man, because of Khalil Mack. But that defense is
the friend zone treatment.
I love that. I love that example that he gives. Even the friend zone treatment. You're doing all the right things. You're doing everything great, but it's not sexy. So
that's it. Bears, that defense from top to bottom is one of the toughest units out there. So it's a challenge. And again, it goes always back, Jacob, to that offensive line. That would be the Bucs. And can they get it done versus a Bears defense, versus a Broncos defense, versus a Chargers? I think I'm surprised by, or not surprised, that Tyrod Taylor is not going to be that quarterback. It looks like Justin Herbert is going to be the quarterback. So maybe that gives the Chargers an opportunity.
Has there been any update on Tyrod Taylor?
He had,
yeah.
Go ahead. What's the update, Jake?
From what I've heard today, Anthony Lynn said that if Tyrod Taylor is 100% healthy, which probably he will be. I mean, it seemed like a minor chest. I don't know. It was from like an injection, pregame injection or something. And that Justin Herbert found out like 5 to 10 seconds before kickoff that he was going to play. I heard that if Tyrod's 100%, that he's the starter for Sunday against whatever team they're playing. So,
okay. So he's okay. I mean, last I heard, chest pains, rushed to a hospital.
Yeah.
I was like, holy cow, man. And then I heard something about, if I guess he'll still be the starter if he's healthy, but I was hoping. Your heart's got to break for Saquon Barkley.
Oh yeah.
Well,
that was a reaction to pain meds that he was given before the game.
Okay.
So pain meds, you think of a heart attack, but the pain meds, Justin Herbert yesterday stepped right in and they nearly pulled off the upset.
that was pain meds for some Chargers fans right there.
I'm telling you right now, once you think you got the Chiefs right where you want them, here comes Patrick Mahomes, and this is the reason why the kid got an over $500 million contract. I mean, he's just amazing. You're talking about Wilson and the numbers he puts up, but Patrick Mahomes, good gracious for the Chiefs, amazing.
Yeah.
As far as Anthony Lynn, I can tell you exactly why he's putting Tyrod back in, because he's a player. He was a former player. He's a player coach. He's old school, and he believes in the fact that you don't lose your job because of an injury.
Yeah, I definitely think
tell that to Tom Brady.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Well, there you go. And Tristan says, really quick, because I got you on the phone, I did not say Mike is overrated. Mike does what Mike does, and that's being consistent. But Chris Godwin, you're saying he's overrated? What is he, the product of this offense? Is Is he a system guy? Like we always hear from these fans say, well, if this guy leaves.
Wait.
He's been more consistent than Evans.
Okay. How can Godwin be a system guy? How can Godwin be overrated when he got the most yak on the team last year? He blocks defensive ends. He gets downfield and catches the ball. He's the most consistent player on the team.
He has a 96%. 96% reception rate or whatever. I don't know what the stats called, but come on.
Yeah, come on, man. All right, Johnny Dean, we're going to wrap this puppy up. Thanks a lot for the call. Appreciate you. All right.
Later, guys.
All right, later. So there you go. All right, I'm going to get you guys out of here. It's nearly midnight here early on this Tuesday morning. So Jacob, go ahead and promote yourself.
Yeah, Hard Count Football Podcast on YouTube and SoundCloud. I got right now kind of very cookie cutter schedule. I got Tuesdays, I got my reactions. Thursdays, I got my Thursday night previews, and then Sunday I have my live show, Hard Count Football Podcast Live. That's on YouTube and on Twitch, obviously with the Landry Football Network, twitch.tv/Chris Landry Football. So on my Sunday show, I go through my predictions for every game from that Sunday, and I do a review of that Thursday night game. That is Sundays at 10 a.m. Eastern on YouTube and Twitch with Chris Landry Football.
All right, good stuff. Thanks a lot, Jacob Charnow of the Hard Count Football Podcast. I got to get on one of those shows, but I've been so busy with
Absolutely.
the parties. I appreciate you, all right?
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. Let me know, Peter.
Yep, absolutely. Good stuff there. The 16-year-old prodigy. Let's go out to Rick Hughes, who wishes he was 16 years old again. Go ahead and promote yourself.
I can't argue with that. I cannot argue with that. All right, Sunday nights, Cheap Seats, live from the Cheap Seats. Great show. We're having a lot of fun. And starting on Tuesday nights in a few weeks here, we're starting a brand new show called What's Cooking in the South. It's going to have someone from each of the NFC South teams talking game, talking about updating everybody from the perspective. Look, you get news that's different when you're in the city. That like if you're in Tampa, you're getting different news than maybe the national people get. I don't know what the New Orleans media is saying about the Saints. I don't know what's happening in Carolina. I don't know what's happening with the other teams unless you're there. So it's going to be a fun kind of a thing, and we're throwing in a food element to that whole thing. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
All right, good stuff there. Rick Hughes from the Cheap Seats debuting a new show here on Bucs Report, so definitely check that out. Thanks a lot for your time here on
Thanks again, Peter. I had a great time. Thank you.
I had a fun time too. Thanks a lot for your time. There we go. So we're wrapping this up. What did I tell you? You fans thought the sky was falling, but now your Tampa Bay Buccaneers are tied with the New Orleans Saints because the Raiders have defeated them 34-24. Everything that I told you was going to happen happened this week. How about that, huh? Got the score right for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 31-17. Told you the Falcons defense was god-awful. They would blow the lead. Of course, the Panthers being 0-2. And now the Bucs are tied with the Saints for first place in the NFC South. So there you go. Early on this Tuesday morning, do three things for me and write them down if you don't know them. Bring your passion. Bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blake. You're now in the Sports Web, a sports talk show for the hardcore fan. Bring your passion, bring your excitement, just don't bring any nonsense.
power bill through the roof? At 320 Solar, that power bill will be no more. In fact, about 90% of our customers report lower solar payments than with electricity. That's more power in your pocket. 320 Solar. Power up. Going solar with 320 may cost you nothing down. But the work we do is not a $0 job. With a 10-year roof penetration warranty and solar panels guaranteed for 25 years, you can have peace of mind knowing we will do the job right every time without question. 320 Solar. Power up.
Come to Sam Ash for hundreds of exclusive holiday deals on music and sound gear from the most iconic brands. Save big on professional and starter guitars, drums, digital pianos, horns, violins, DJ, and electronic production equipment. Supercharge your home studio with deals on podcasting, streaming, and AV equipment like speakers, microphones, headphones, and acoustic treatment. Plus, with 36 months no-interest financing on thousands of items, you can get the gear of your dreams right now. From our incredible selection and service to our lowest price guarantee for over 95 years, real musicians know you only go to Sam Ash.